Hello, and welcome to this very special episode of The Sausage Factory, in which we pay tribute to the late horror master Tobe Hooper by discussing his filmography. And then we're going to follow that up by watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 live. I'm your moderator, Pizzal. Joining me tonight, I have got Raiho Magnifico. How you doing, Raiho?
I'm doing very well tonight. I'm looking forward to watching Texas Chainsaw 2. It's been a long time, so I'm looking very forward to that.
Very nice, very nice. Also with me tonight's Rambo Raff. How you doing, Rambo?
Doing well. Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. And I'm joined by the Professor, B-Movie Mike. What's up, Mike?
Hey, guys, what's going on? Everything's good on my end. I was looking forward to this one. We briefly talked about Toby a little bit in the green room, but we'll save it for the show. But I'm looking forward to this one.
There we go.
He's one of the big four.
One of the big four. That we've unfortunately lost. We're down to, oh my gosh, the Mount Rushmore of horror is, my goodness.
I want EMTs outside of Carpenter's house 24/7.
Yes. 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 Raiho's already pouring him a drink. What are we drinking tonight, Raiho?
I don't know why I did it again. I bought another pumpkin ale. I guess it's my last one of the season. But it was on sale at the end of the aisle when I was going through. It's like, I'll give it a shot. So it's nice and cold, and we give it a blast here.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, right now,
pretty good. That's actually pretty good. I'm not going to lie.
If you can wade through the Christmas stuff, you can find some good deals on Halloween-related items.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I went to Walmart today to pick up a few things, and I swear you would have thought that it was December 20 something other than October 20 something, because I mean, like, the Halloween stuff was already gone, and now it's just all Christmas.
Yeah, they did the same at mine. I was going into the costume section to just take a look around or whatever. I had my son with me, and we went around to go play with the costumes or whatever, and they're pushed to the way back. There's like one aisle, and it's sandwiched between Christmas. There's like Christmas lights on one side and like other Christmas bullshit on the other side. It's like, come on.
Yep.
Give me a break.
It's not even happened yet, and it's already over.
No, yeah, exactly. Little kids like, can't wait to do my letter for Santa. I'm like, it's not even November. Relax.
Calm down.
Yeah.
You know.
So it's all good, though. He loves Halloween. He's pretty jacked up for it. So
good. That's very good. That's awesome. Yeah. Oh, goodness. Well, how have you guys been? We took a week off there to kind of decompress from our 3-part George Romero tribute. How have you guys been?
Doing good. Can't complain.
Getting by.
Good.
Getting by.
Good. Always good. How's the? I'm sure it's getting cold down there in Florida now, and Mike. You know.
Yeah, it's really cold. No, it actually feels really great. It's 60s at night, 70s, 80s in the daytime. It's beautiful.
Oh, it's nice. That's nice. Very nice. Well, have you guys seen any movies lately?
Caught Blade Runner finally.
Okay. Yeah. I saw the video that you and Cole did. You seemed very up on Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah. I mean, I like the original film. I'm not like, Cole loves it, and so it was a big deal for him for sure. And I like the movie, and so I went into it maybe with a little less expectation. But like I was telling Raph in the green room, as we call it, ever since I've watched it, I just keep thinking about it. I'll think of something that they like a loose thread they left for you to think about, or a scene, or a moment, and it like, oh, that's why this happened, or I'll think, and they just left so much there for you to think about. There's a lot of beauty on the screen. There's a lot of great acting and music, and they just didn't force spoon feed you a bunch of crap. It is very much a thinking piece now that I kind of have it, and like I can't wait to see it again now.
Well, you mentioned in your review the scene where like the water spills over that, like I don't know if it's coming out of a dam or just there's all that water and that music rises up. Mm-hmm. That sequence just gave me chills. All it is water. It's water. It's music. It's like beautifully photographed, and I just got chills.
Yeah, even just now when you mentioned it, I had like a little chill go down my spine. It's just like, and it really was for me because I had been focusing on the music a little bit, and I was kind of like, it's very muted. It's there. You feel like, and like Brad said in his review, I'm a little sad they didn't do like a little more of the Vangelis theme, but You know, the DNA of it's in there. You feel like you're watching Blade Runner. You feel like you hear Blade Runner. But I was waiting for that moment, and then when that happened, and it literally filled our whole theater up, I was just like, oh yes, that's what I was looking for. Like, that really was a turning point in the film. It really kind of goes in, and you know, kind of that's when the catch of speed, and so I felt like it was such a poignant moment. And there's lots of times like that in the film. I mean, I just can't believe it. It's a shame it's doing so poorly. Hopefully they recoup some of the money on home video or something, but I don't know.
Yeah, Rambo, I know you saw it too, and I know you really enjoyed it. Mike, have you seen Blade Runner 2049?
No, I haven't. I don't know. I enjoyed the first one. I saw the original in the theater, and I enjoyed it. I mean, there's so many cuts of that film, it feels like it already has a sequel, or many. I mean, was it like 5 cuts of the film you can buy on Blu-ray?
There's a lot. Yeah, there's
ridiculous,
a lot.
Right?
Yeah.
I guess what's keeping me from being excited about it is Harrison Ford. In his later years, going back and revisiting his franchises of yore or whatever, I don't know, his attitude just doesn't sit well with me.
I'll say this, Mike. I can see where you're coming from, and Cole and I kind of talked about before we went into the movie, and we talked about it after. The one thing I will say is Harrison Ford did not just come in for a paycheck for this movie. I have no idea what his feelings are on the original. I have no idea if it actually meant something to him or what, but like he came to play. He's like, I wouldn't say he's in a lot of the film. I won't say anything else, but he came to, like, it's one of the better performances I've seen from him in a long time.
It just kind of seems like, I don't know, he killed off Han Solo. Now is he going to kill off this one, and then he's going to kill off Indiana Jones? Before he dies, he's going to kill all of his iconic characters or something?
Let me put it this way, B-Movie Mike. You know how much I hated Force Awakens. This is the total opposite. With his character, with Harrison Ford, I can't spoil it, but it's the total opposite. By the last scene, I was smiling. With The Force Awakens, I was not smiling. I was pissed. But by this, I was smiling with Harrison Ford, his character, what they do it just. I'll say it that.
Well, that renews my interest. I'll have to check it out then.
Which I don't think they did with Force Awakens. I know I'm one of the few, but this one,
oh, no.
I thought of that too while I was watching it. They don't. It's total opposite. To me, that's not the only reason, but that's one of the reasons why what a lot of people feel about Force Awakens, I feel about Blade Runner 2049. It felt like a real film. I felt they did the character justice. He's not in it 100% of the time, so you don't expect that with Harrison Ford, but when he pops up and then what happens, it was with justice.
I like Force Awakens. You guys know how I felt about it. This movie is twice the movie Force Awakens is. Like, as far as I can't even, and like, I know that Star Wars is more of a popcorn movie,
and another movie,
whatever, but
it's its own movie. It is not a copy of Blade Runner at all. Yeah. It is definitely its own movie. It's not repeating A New Hope. It's not repeating Blade Runner beat for beat. It's definitely its own film.
Yeah,
I'll say that too.
It kind of hits you on all senses. I mean, it's probably one of the most beautiful movies I think I've probably ever seen. The score is great. But there's a really good story there. There's really strong performances there. The cast all around was phenomenal.
So Ryan Gosling, isn't he in it?
He's in it. And
because that was another negative for me. I'm not a huge fan of the Gosling. He was in that movie Drive where he played that. That was probably my favorite film that he was in. Probably because he didn't do a whole lot.
Well, if you like Drive, if you like him in Drive,
it's more in tone with that.
Okay. It's very, very reserved. Kind of, you know what I mean?
The Ryan Gosling is more in tone with Drive, and that's a favorite of mine of Ryan Gosling too. So maybe that's why I really liked him in it.
Cool. You should check out Mike. What's that movie? I think it's called Full Nelson or Half Nelson. He's in. He plays a drug addled school teacher. Half Nelson. Okay, yeah. That's really good. Lars and the Real Girl is really good. Check those out, Mike.
Is what's that one you did with Russell Crowe? Is that any good? The new guy?
The Nice Guys.
I've heard it's really good.
I thought it looked pretty good. I really liked the trailers. I really wanted to see it.
I thought it was
kind
good.
of let it slip by, but
I thought Shane Black did a good job with it.
And that kind of got on Predator in a way, right? So I got to check that out.
Hey, Stingray, are you with us?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey.
Sound good?
I'm using this horse shit mic here. Yeah, sorry, having mic problems tonight, among other things.
You're coming through loud and clear, man. Coming through loud and clear.
Yeah.
Lick my plate.
Well, we were talking Blade Runner 2049. Have you had a chance to see it yet?
Have not. It's on my list. I've been trying to get a viewing of the original in first. But yeah, I've got my movie pass, so I've been really hitting the theater hard this past week.
Damn, I want that movie pass. I couldn't even get to the movies enough right now to make it worth it, but I just want it just to stick it to the theaters.
So which version of the original would you recommend people watch before they see the new one?
Ooh.
Well, I've been talking to Cole, and I think he says the final cut. Is
The
that
final
right?
cut's the best one.
Yeah.
That's the last one I watched.
They're so different because, I mean, you've got the director's cut, the definitive cut, the producer's cut, you know what I mean? The key grips cut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've got all these different cuts of the movie.
Yeah.
I get them all confused. I've seen them all. I own them all. But, you know, and like some of them, like one cut makes you think, yeah, Deckert's a replicant. The other cut kind of makes you think he's not the replicant. So, I don't know. It's just, it's I don't know. I guess it shows you how you can make it, how editing can make a movie almost a different movie.
There's one where they color adjusted it too a lot too. Is that Final Cut? I think they did a lot of like color adjust and stuff like that, like kind of cleaned it up.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's such its own film. You don't really, I don't think it's truly necessary unless you want to. I mean, if you know the general
If you can remember.
basis.
Yeah.
Yeah. My girlfriend hadn't seen the first Blade Runner, and she loved Blade Runner 2049.
My favorite part of the original is Rutger Hauer.
Yeah.
Without him in the new one, that was another question I had. I had, Gosling, Ford, and Howard. Those are like the three question marks I had about the new film.
I mean, Howard's performance in the first one is never going to be touched.
No. There's a little bit of Rutger Hauer
In there, yeah.
in there. Yeah.
Okay.
They pay him the most silent tribute, but it is beautiful.
Yes.
And you have, you know what? I'm just going to say right now, you guys just go. I'm worried it's going to get pulled from the theater because it's not doing well. Like they're going to yank it. So, try to catch it.
We talked about a trailer just a second ago. Another thing I loved about Blade Runner 2049 was the trailers were absolutely perfect. They sold you on the movie, they apparently didn't sell everybody on the movie. They sold me on the movie, but they told you nothing. I walked into that movie not knowing anything other than it's a Blade Runner sequel and Harrison Ford's there and Ryan Gosling is like, I guess, a new Blade Runner and Dave Bautista's in there. That was all and Jared Leto. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
Oh, you had to mention the Leto. They're the number 4.
That's another, yeah.
That was my
not nearly as bad he was as Joker.
He's not in it very much.
Nearly.
That was my only qualm with the movie. Was kind of like
the weakest link. I would
exactly.
say. Is that fair? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to say that he does a bad job, but he's the weakest. He's the weakest of the acting. And there's a bunch of people in there I've never even heard of. And they pull some amazing performances.
And I don't think they gave him enough material to even really establish himself. He's kind of like the bad guy by default.
Here's the thing and I don't like this about some movies, and I didn't watch it yet, but there's like a short film out there, like that essentially it's in between Blade Runner and this, and apparently that has Jared Leto in it, and it kind of explains how we get to there. And it also, I think it has Edward James Olmos is in that, like this short film, and I haven't seen it, but like you don't need to see that. I never saw it, so I didn't need it. But I feel like apparently that gives you some of the lead up to Leto's character. Okay. That's what I heard. I haven't seen it yet myself, so. But,
well, why do you guys think the movie isn't doing well?
Blade Runner didn't do well.
Basing link. I haven't seen it yet, but
I think Blade Runner is only considered a classic by a small audience. Really, I don't think that modern audiences are really. That's not a movie they look to and go, "Oh, that was a classic." That's more of a smaller cult audience.
Because it's a long movie that's not a dumb popcorn Transformers movie. I'm sorry.
Modern audiences would probably think it's boring.
Yeah, it's too
I
long.
hear-
It's too boring. There's not enough dumb action, and I'm sorry, it's not Michael Bay, folks. Fuck Michael Bay.
That's the
but
problem.
We're coming off a bad summer. I feel like
Transformers 57 can make $1 billion, but fucking
the big hitters will
Runner
hit
2.
around Christmas. They'll do decent, but
Well, Ryo, did more people show up?
Yeah.
For that screening? Okay.
but not many. I want to say 20 tops. And there was one guy that sat there and like didn't realize it was 3D, and as soon as it turned on, he like panicked and ran out of the theater. It's pretty funny. And what was funny was for some reason they didn't do any of the trailers in 3D or anything. It was really strange. It was like as soon as the movie hit, that's when it came on. So he had no idea. He had no chance, right? He's like, oh, tore out of the theater. Some more people did show up, but I mean, and it was a Monday night, I think, or something like that. So like, I didn't expect that many people to be there. But when we sat down in the theater, there wasn't a single soul in there. I was like, oh shit. But yeah, no, a few people did come.
But Medea 2 can get #1 at the box office. Boo Halloween 2.
There's
Yay.
like 3 showings at every theater around here that fucking movie did.
You can't
That's what
miss.
people go see. Medea Boo Halloween 2.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I'm sure Bad Moms Christmas is going to be amazingly popular as well.
Probably will. Like
Such an
probably.
amazing.
That's the direct
Shit.
that makes money now. So there's your answer as to why this movie bombed.
Pirates of the Caribbean 27. Same fucking movie as the first one.
I didn't even bother with that.
$1.
I don't know. I like
Neither
Pirates.
did I, but-
I love the first Pirates movie.
That's what everyone says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
every
then,
single one's like,
I
no
saw
one
that
gives a
movie.
shit.
I saw it at the very end. It was like the day it was leaving the theater. I managed to catch it. I was like, holy shit! I wish I'd seen this earlier. And then picked it up on DVD. I've watched that movie countless times. And after the first one, man, it just kept getting worse and worse.
Well, I saw 5 movies this past week, right?
Wow. Okay.
Holy shit!
That's how full.
Every theater except one was completely empty besides me.
Oh wow.
Wow.
There was
movies.
2 other people probably doing some shenanigans behind me. Sitting at the top row action, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They were probably like not happy I was there at all.
No, they wanted you to get the hell out of there.
Did you put it on your phone?
They were trying to hate
I
you to death.
recorded it.
What movies did you see?
Yeah.
Oh man, where have I been? I saw Annabelle Creation because I wanted to catch it before it left,
Okay.
and I was actually pleasantly surprised. It was much better than the first one.
Yeah. It's not bad at all.
I saw the new what is it? The the Golden Circle.
Oh yeah, Kingsman.
Kingsman, that's it.
Oh, okay.
Which I liked quite a bit also. A Happy Death Day,
How was it?
which was okay. That was pretty good.
Okay.
I saw The Foreigner, which is really, really cool.
I heard that's good.
And I saw Snowman last night because I was
bad
afraid
is
it
it?
wasn't going to. That movie's fucking terrible, man. That movie is terrible. Like I was like, it's got to be better than. These critics don't know what they're talking about. It's got Fassbender. Come on, it looks great.
Yeah.
Tomas Alfredson said literally that movie is not finished.
I felt bad. I was telling my mom last night. She loves the book. She loves Joe Nesbo, and she was like, "Oh, I've just reread the book. I'm trying to get your dad to take me to the movie." And I was like, "I don't think you should do that. I'm not hearing good things." Anyway, so
Yeah. So yeah, the movie's not even finished. Like the director's like, yeah, we didn't even finish it. So people are saying that like there's like huge plot holes in it, and like things are not explained because they didn't finish it.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't watch it at all.
No wonder Bright is going direct to Netflix.
I'm hopefully going to go check out the Happy Death Day pretty soon. I hear pretty good things about it, and
It's like a horror type Groundhog Day thing.
exactly, yeah. And the guy who directed it, he directed the what was it, Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, which I really
Is that
liked.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
I just saw that this week, and that's one of the movies I was going to talk about. I really, really enjoyed that movie. I thought it was great.
Yeah, a lot of
It was
fun.
It was a lot of fun.
It's actually oh god, what's his name? I'm gonna have to look him up. He's the son of a famous actor. can't believe Landon. He's Landon's son.
Michael Landon?
Michael Landon's
Landon?
son. Yeah,
Little
Michael
House?
Landon's son. Yep.
I didn't know that.
There you go.
So
Haven't heard that name in a long time.
If there's people out there that haven't seen Scouts Guide, watch
I
it.
have not seen
yeah,
it.
it's fun. Yeah,
It's fun.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah. A couple of serious matters that we need to discuss. We need you guys out there to send dank thoughts to Orc. He's having surgery. He had surgery today. I've not heard anything from him. I'm hoping that surgery went well. I'm hoping that he will be able to bounce back and be 100% very soon. So send your dank memes and your dank dreams and your dank thoughts to Orc's way. And also, I've started a zero tolerance policy here on the Sausage Factory. And even though Orc is having surgery, he is still absent and he is fired.
Understandably.
And that's just how things are going to go from now on. Got to run this ship tight. And surgery or no, sorry, Orc. We hope you the best, but it won't be here on this show.
The paychecks they're done.
Yeah, we went ahead and let's see. Where's your contract? Orc's contract right here. Gone. It's gone.
Are you a dank dreamer?
There we go. See that needs to be Orc's.
That needs to be his thing. Yeah.
Are you a
dank
dreamer?
Orc most indubitably is.
Most indubitably. Oh man, that stuff cracks me up.
Oh, I love it.
I've got that.
Stanley the Otter.
It's so funny. It's so funny. Yeah.
Stanley the Otter most certainly is.
We need to get We Otter on the show. That'd be so awesome.
Yeah, indubitably.
No, but in all seriousness, send your dank thoughts and dank memes Orc's way, and we wish him a speedy recovery.
No doubt.
Yeah, definitely. And Stingray, how are you doing? How's your ma?
Good, doing good. She's back home today.
Okay, good.
So fingers crossed, everything went well. Good.
Very, very good. Very, very good. All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and let me say hello to everybody watching. Andy Phantom is with us tonight. How you doing, sir? DJ Donnelly is with us. Movie Man 95. Chris Wynn, how you doing, Chris Wynn? Chris asked, anyone check out Never Hike Alone? If you haven't checked out Never Hike Alone, you definitely should. It was really good. That's the Friday the 13th fan film, by the way. Very fun. Very cool. John Avenger is joining us tonight. The Horror Reel is with us tonight. I thought I saw Joseph Perdue here. Where are you at? There's Joseph Perdue. Yep, he's with us tonight as well. I saw somebody mention in the chat, they asked if we'd heard about the Corey Feldman Truth Project.
No.
Corey Feldman is prepared to reveal the names of the Hollywood pedophiles who victimized both him and Corey Haim if you give him $10 million.
Yeah, because he's going to have to disappear. I saw a video from him where he said that his band members are quitting on him and he's got people stalking him and all kinds of crazy shit's going on since he's
losing teeth.
Threatened to do this.
So he has to pay for a security team to protect him and his family. And of course, he wants to make them. He can't just tell you who these people are. He wants to make a movie about it.
That's such bullshit. Half these guys got to be dead, right?
Well, here's the thing. Like, now's the time. With the Weinstein,
Exactly.
everybody's coming out.
That's
Like,
what I said.
now's the time. You come out and you say, "This guy diddled me when I was a kid." Like, get him fucked up. Like, this is crazy.
He claims that one of them, one of the three big ones that molested him as a child, is still a major player in Hollywood.
Is he worried about losing work? Like, is he working?
Well, he said it involves multiple studios.
And it involves big studios. Yeah.
I feel awful for the guy if this is all true and everything like that. That's disturbing and fucked up and everything. But like,
maybe he's looking for some hush money or something.
The thing is and like if you watch that video, he's like, I want to help You know, he's kind of like, it's too late for me, but I want to help the young child actors today to not be victimized. But first, you got to send me $10 million.
Yeah, like didn't Elijah Wood come out and like speak about this too? Like,
Yeah.
he may not have named names, but he came out and said like, my parents protected me from this shit. It's legit. It's a problem. Like some if you got some names, drop them. Like I don't know. I'm not in this position. I shouldn't be talking shit. It's just such a disturbing situation.
Kids is you tell who did it.
You tell an adult.
And also too, I mean, it kind of hurts his credibility because he's like, yeah, I'll tell you, but you got to give me all this money first. But that kind of, I don't know. It's like, dude, it seems like it's typical Corey Feldman in that he's trying to do something good, but he's got to do it in like this really whacked out backwards way. You know what I mean?
Well, maybe he's
that's
thinking
why I'm more of a Corey Haim fan.
That's what it'll take for him to disappear, because maybe he feels like he'll have to disappear after he does this.
Yeah, he might have to. I mean, I guess if it's
because his creative life, as he knows it, will be over because nobody will work with him anymore. So he's. I mean,
keep in mind, guys, he's been talking about this for like the past 15, 20 years. Like,
yeah,
this is not new news that this happened.
Yeah,
he has just been holding on to these names, and you know, him and Corey Haim as well. I think got abused by some of the same people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do.
I don't know, if you want to protect children, you need to name the name so it doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah. Well, and you know, and if he said, okay, look, guys, I need to raise money. If I'm going to do this, I got to raise some money because my career was going to be over. I'm going to be done in this business for the rest of my life. I'm going to have some money. That's all. I mean, that's still kind of like, okay, whatever. But that makes more sense than him going, I need this money to make a movie about the story. I need this money to hire a, you know,
then go work at a fucking Walmart or something.
Well, yeah.
He's got to have some bank that he could like live comfortably.
He's got to.
To some extent, right? Like,
it's like, dude, you've made more money than me and about 10 people I've known in my life. You know, so it's like, you're asking me for money?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, again, I hate to talk ill of the guy. I watched a lot of great films from him in my lifetime, and I've always enjoyed him and stuff. And it just, I don't know, there's something about that situation that just kind of doesn't make sense to me. But anyway.
Well, as far as him being whacked out, I guess it's understandable that if you're diddled when you're a child, that can have a negative effect on you later in life.
It seems like child actors from that era, man, they come out fucked up. Like, so maybe this is what was causing the problems. Like, you know, but
I mean, because you know, I feel for him because like he didn't have the opportunity to have a childhood. His childhood was a professional acting job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, that has to mess with you. All that money, all that fame, all that at a very early age has to mess with you. You throw in there molestation. You throw in there the fact that by the time you turn 21, everybody's saying, "Oh, you're washed up. Your career's over. You're done." At 21, and that's when normal people. That's when they're starting their careers. But everybody's telling you your career's over. So I mean, you know, that has to just and the fact that his parents completely robbed him of all of his money. He had like no money by the time he got emancipated left. According to him, at least, that's all got to jack your brain up.
Yeah.
And you know, child actors have had it bad, you know, since the beginning of film.
Yes.
I mean, look what happened to a lot of the Little Rascals.
Yes.
You know, drugs, suicide, prostitution. I mean, Little House on the Prairie. There was was an actress that had some problems with that. Judy Garland from the Wizard of Oz. She, you know, they would feed her speed to get her weight down, and it would berate her, and you know, she was molested by the Munchkins. I mean, this kind of stuff has been going on in Hollywood for decades, and if he can stop it, then he should just stop it. But maybe he feels like that's too much weight on him, that there's nobody else on his side, and in his messed up brain from being, you know, victimized. Maybe his paranoia is so great that he just can't think straight or something. I mean, it's sad.
Definitely, yeah. It's a very sad situation, but I don't know.
Yeah, very sad. Very sad. Let me ask you guys a question. I've kind of been going back and forth on whether I want to do a video talking about this on my channel. I did a poll on Twitter not long ago, and I asked everybody, can you overlook a director, artist, actor, you know what I mean? Can you overlook their personal misconduct or you know, their the misconduct of their personal lives and still enjoy their professional work? Can you watch a Victor Salva movie and enjoy it for what it is? Can you watch a Roman Polanski movie and enjoy it for what it is? You know what I mean?
It depends on the person. Victor Salva, no. Fuck him.
Okay. Okay.
Well, because in Jeepers Creepers, he's putting it in the movie. In Jeepers Creepers 2, he's got a bunch of shirtless guys on top of a bus. He's got a creeper licking the window, looking at guys, and the camera's literally ogling teenage guys. And he's even making the creeper. In the first one, the creeper's sniffing the lead guy's underwear. He's putting that in the movie. And this is the same guy that touched a little kid when he was doing his first film, Clown House. And he only served like 9 months. Wesley Snipes served a year for taxes. So, you know, people wonder, oh, he guys just deserves 9 months?
With money.
9 months?
I definitely agree with the sentence. The sentence was way too light for something like that. But Polanski ran. He never even served time for his crime. I don't know. Polanski makes better movies than this guy. I mean, you know, Rosemary's Baby is a million times better than Jeepers Creepers. But that's a tough call. I mean, personally, I don't know. Can you separate it? I enjoy some movies, but you find it does, I guess, take away from the enjoyment factor of the film. I don't know. It's a good question.
I've not gone back and watched Jeepers Creepers or anything Salva's done since I found out. I do watch Rosemary's Baby occasionally, and it doesn't bother me. It's difficult, I guess. It's like a moral thing, right? Like some indiscretions are worse than others in your own spectrum or whatever, and you can deal with it. Like the whole Polanski thing is so strange, and the story is so like. I don't want to say that I can condone that, of course not, but I can watch Rosemary's Baby and be like, oh, I really like this movie. But when I found out about Salva, like I just do not want to go back and watch Jeepers Creepers. I just whatever it is about.
Is it because it was a boy and not a girl?
No, it doesn't matter. It's a kid, right?
But I mean, Polanski's girl was 12, right? I mean,
something like that. Yeah, like I know, I get it. I'm not saying like, there's no.
It's apples and apples, you know.
Yeah. I'm not saying anything to the effect that I could. I'm saying that I can't go back and watch Rosemary's Baby, maybe because I watched the movie many times before I ever knew. I didn't know anything about that when I was younger. Stuff like that, right? Maybe because Jeepers Creepers isn't half the movie. I don't know. It's difficult. It's a gray area. It's a great question.
It's not just films. You go into music. Led Zeppelin, Jimmy Page had a 14-year-old girlfriend at the height of their popularity. Ted Nugent used to pay parents money to take their underage daughters on tour with him.
Yeah, I don't want to hear that.
You know what I mean? It's when you can't just look at one guy because there's many people that back in the day used to do stuff like that. So you wouldn't be able to listen to a lot of music and watch a lot of movies. I mean, it's horrible the things that people get away with.
No, it's the I don't know.
Didn't Jerry Lee Lewis like marry his like cousin when she was like 12 or something?
Oh shit! I didn't hear that one.
Well, you know, Elvis, when he first was interested in Lisa Marie, she was underage, or whatever his daughter, not his daughter, with his wife, whatever. His wife,
Priscilla.
Yeah, she was underage when he first met her, and he waited until she was of age to do anything. But still, the desire was there. Now here's a guy in his 20s and 30s, and there's a teenage girl, and still, just because he waited for it to be legal doesn't make it less icky.
Yeah. It was weird because, I mean, I was thinking about Salva and I was thinking about Polanski and I was even thinking about Bryan Singer and all the allegations that were thrown at him during that, you know, what was it? An open, so what's it called? An open lie or an open
secret?
An open secret. Yeah. You know, it's like, can I go back and watch those X-Men movies? You know, it's like, I don't know. It's like it taints. I don't know. It's weird. It's very, I don't know. It's very conflicting. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
It definitely makes you feel weird. It's like I like in the case of Rosemary's Baby. It's like I really enjoy the film, but knowing what the director did, I don't know. It does kind of taint it a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like, man, I really wish he hadn't. I could enjoy this. I could feel less guilty.
You could enjoy it more.
I could feel less guilty for enjoying the film.
Yeah.
And there was several months ago, I did a review of the Electric Boogaloo canon documentary that came out. And in it, you know, they talk a lot about Death Wish 2 and Death Wish 3 that Michael Winner directed. And he's got a reputation of just being an absolute sadist and a freaking sociopath and just a really sick guy. And somebody in the comment section of that video attacked me, like, how can you like this movie when the director was such a sick guy? You know what I mean? And I was like, and I kind of looked at it like, well, I wasn't really particularly thinking of Winner, but I was thinking about, well, you know, again, Roman Polanski. There's so many Roman Polanski movies I like, but you know, he's got issues. You know what I mean?
Clearly.
So I don't, you know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. It's
where do you draw the line? Like if it's a quality product or not? I mean, is that
no,
a good no?
It's like it depends on I think it, like, you know, something like Polanski and Salva, it's like they're disgusting. I don't really want to like their work. I don't want to watch their work. And then you've got other guys that do other things. Like if somebody killed somebody, I don't know if I'd be like, I can still watch the movie. I don't know why. It's like a moral spectrum, right? Like I don't know why that is, but
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Victor Salva himself is like he flaunts it in the movies that I see it. I mean, it's about a guy named the Creeper that wants to eat a boy. Want to eat his ass. I mean, in the second film, let's have a bunch of shirtless guys sunbathing on a school bus.
I don't like the Jeepers Creepers movies because
there's not even a but I mean, that's not even hiding it. That's just let's have him lick the window looking at a guy.
In the second one, it's very.
Let's have a bunch of guys piss 2 inches from each other.
Yeah, it's very in your face in the second one. Very in your face. It's a little. It's slightly more kind of subtle in the first one, aside from the underwear sniffing scene. But in the second one, it's just like it's right.
I hear what you mean. I hear what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. The second one, it's right in your face.
I don't even think I've seen the second one. I certainly know when I saw Jeepers Creepers the first time, I had no idea, of course, about any of that. And I didn't like it that much then. So that's why I guess I'm saying, like, I saw Rosemary's Baby years and years ago and thought it was a really good movie, and then found out about this other shit, right? So it's kind of fucked up.
Well, I remember back in was it the early '90s when Guns N' Roses did a cover of a Charles Manson song? They got a bunch of shit about it.
I remember that.
You know, how can you cover a song that was written by a madman who's in prison for his crimes? You know, and so that was a kind of a big deal back then.
Yep, I remember that. Yep. Well, and what's interesting is I don't remember any. I don't remember any public outcry over the first Jeepers Creepers when it was coming out, yet it was common knowledge Victor Salva was a convicted pedophile. I remember very little to do with Jeepers Creepers 2. Now with Jeepers Creepers 3, everybody is, you know what I mean? They've had to pull it from theaters. They've had to they've had just a tremendous outcry from people to not show this movie. But it's the third movie.
You have a problem with it?
Yeah, it's kind of odd. Right. I don't remember any hubbub over the first one. I remember very little over the second one, but this one is just like uproarious.
I hated the second one so much I had no plans to see the third one anyway. So
yeah,
it's not it's not like they're saving me from something.
I'm shocked there is a third one.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand.
Well, and I remember there was a lot of heat thrown at Francis Ford Coppola because he was the one producing the first two Jeepers Creepers movies.
Yeah,
you know, like why would you put money behind? Why would you give this pedophile money to make a movie? You know what I mean? So I don't know. Yeah, very, very
Hollywood, man.
Hollywood.
I'm still kind of surprised that they're surprised at Harvey Weinstein. It's like, you know, the casting couch thing has been a known way of doing things in Hollywood for basically like the abuse of child actors. It's been there from the beginning. You know, if you want this contract, if you want this movie, you're going to do this for me. And all the way, that stuff was happening to Marilyn Monroe. I mean, now all of a sudden, why is it a problem? It should have been a problem at day one. So kind of same thing with Jeepers Creepers. You know, why wasn't it a problem with the first film? Why'd you wait till 3? It's like this delayed reaction shit. It's just that's what I was like. Why'd you wait till now to be shocked and surprised? You should have been that way from the beginning.
I overheard two women talking about the Harvey Weinstein thing not long ago, and they were not sympathetic to the victims at all. They said the only reason that this is coming out now is because he's not as powerful as he was.
The word I'm hearing is that the brother wanted to oust him, so he kind of leaked it. Like, everyone knew it was happening. Everyone was rolling their eyes and not looking and whatever.
Yeah.
And then suddenly the power struggle comes up between Bob and Harvey, and apparently the word is Bob let it out to ruin his credibility and get him out of the company. Like, that's why it's out there. If that's why it's out there, like, that's kind of disturbing. Yeah. More power to all the women that are coming out and speaking out now. Like, keep the ball rolling. If something fucked up is happening, let's start naming names and get it out there and let's clean it up. But
like the conversation that I overheard was like dark between these two women talking about Harvey Weinstein. They were like, these women are not feminists. Why didn't they come out before? If one woman had come out and said it before, she could have saved all of these other women. They were more worried about their careers and money than they were about being victims or the fact that there would be a long list of future victims. And I'm sitting there listening to this and I'm like, chewing on my nails, you know what I mean? Yeah. And basically, and they said, they said something that stuck in my head, like, the only reason that this is coming out today is because Miramax isn't the powerhouse that it used to be. Well, it's not even Miramax anymore. The Weinsteins aren't the powerhouse they used to be. If they were still the powerhouse that they were, this still wouldn't come out. And
now Steven Seagal has been accused.
Yep, Steven Seagal. Yep. James Toback has been accused. Let's see, who else was it?
None of Schwarzenegger was accused years ago.
Yeah.
Of being that handsy on the set and being overtly macho and sexually pushy toward female co-stars. I mean, that's what I mean. This stuff has been going on for decades. Why now all of a sudden is it a problem? It should have been a problem, and it should have been stopped before it even began. But
I was reading Asia Argento's account, and it broke my heart because it wasn't just one event. It was ongoing, and it wasn't just physical. It was mental and it was emotional. It was really disturbing.
That one kind of surprised me because, with her dad being Dario Argento and she's a respected filmmaker in Europe, why she would put up with that shit. I mean, she has her own thing going on. I figure she might be powerful enough to be able to tell him, you know what, fuck you. I don't want to deal with this shit. I'm out.
Success in America is a different thing, and it's probably alluring. And there's a lot of, like, I don't know, I'm not a victim. I feel like, there is a victim syndrome, like, where they can't deal with it. And that's why it hasn't come out until now. So, yeah, like I think if now's the time, now's the time.
And some of it is, people will find out what I did, and it'll be embarrassing to me. It'll cause my family grief, and I don't want anybody to know about this because I had to lower myself to a level I don't want to admit to.
Yeah.
Because you think rationally, if you went out to Hollywood to make a movie and somebody says, "Yeah, you want to be in my movie? You're gonna have to blow me." You're gonna be like, "No, thanks," and you're gonna turn around and walk out. That's a decision that's hard for some people. You'd like to be able to think that you would say that, right? So I have the guts to stand up for myself. If people say I'm going to go to Hollywood, I'm going to do whatever it takes to be a star.
Yeah.
Well, you better be careful, what you say, because what it takes might be more than what the average person, would even conceive.
Well, here's the thing too. All the women who are coming out and saying that they fought it or that it didn't happen to them, how many women willingly took that deal and got boosts in their career because of it?
It happened in the fashion industry, every aspect of any kind of entertainment. If you want this coveted spot on this TV show or in this movie, or if you want your pictures in this magazine, you're going to have to do something for me. That's unfortunately been a part of the deal, and it should have never been. It should have never been allowed in the first place.
Yeah.
But you get these creepers with money and power, and they figure out a way, well, hey, I can scam these chicks, Yeah. They would never give me the time of day normally, but I have something they want.
Right.
It's pretty gross.
Yeah.
Well, even that's grown to the Alamo Draft House, where they have
came down like a house of cards.
Yeah, yeah.
The Birth Movies website, he was working for them, and then Harry Knowles from Miracle News, he was supposedly doing it, and he went to Alamo Drafthouse a lot, and Ryo said that's almost falling down now.
It's unbelievable. Like,
the second is a great idea, but
yeah, and the idea will do fine. It's just the management or whatever. But
yeah,
you know, we sit here and we champion Hollywood. We say how much we don't want it to die, and we want to keep going to the theater and doing all this and that. And it's like maybe it's gotta go. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, really, over the past couple of years, some of the things that I've seen coming out of there, just it really, as a huge fan of film, it really, I don't know, it's really disturbing. It really makes me question. You know, when I go to watch a movie, it really tarnishes the enjoyment. I don't know. It's not cool. Maybe we do need a hard reset. You know?
Yeah,
like Hollywood, screw you. You're on the bench. All right, somebody else is going to take over for a while until you figure your shit out.
I'm gonna go watch my hundreds of movies that I have over here that are already good, and you go fuck off for a little while. You know what I mean?
And while you're figuring out how to keep your hands to yourself, also figure out how to make good fucking movies again.
Yes, exactly.
There you go.
There you go.
And go see the good movies.
Go see Blade Runner 2049. Everybody go do it right now.
Go see Dread when it came out.
Wait until after the show's over, then go watch it.
Sorry, yeah. Well, I can't go now. It's a little late. Tomorrow.
But we're hitting on some heavy topics tonight. Heavy.
Shit is real.
If only Orc were here to add his input, you know.
Yeah. If only. It's too bad. It's too bad he had to get.
If he can think
his ass fired. Yeah, exactly. Love it.
So instead of Orc's Dank Meme of the Week, we're going to drop Ryo's Dank Meme of the Week this week. So, anyway.
Give me a little time to think about that
one. Oh, goodness. And hopefully Stingray's back because we need a Stingray spotlight this week. You know what I mean? We've really got to help carry the load that Orc is, you know, with Orc not here.
I know. We all got to work twice as hard if he's not here.
I know, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's go ahead and let's dive into the topic at hand. We're going to talk about the career of the late horror master Tobe Hooper. And let's just go ahead and dive right into his filmography. Two of his very first films, The Heisters and Eggshells, I wanted to go back and rewatch for this show. I saw them years ago. They are on the really nice Arrow Video, like 3-disc Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 release. I don't remember them that well. Rambo, I'm sorry. I know you reviewed them recently for your Tobe Hooper series on your channel. What are your thoughts on those films?
Well, I only saw Eggshells, which was in the 60s. It's just one of those very acid trip, nonsensical. If you try to follow a plot, good luck. It's trying to be very... It was interesting for a watch because it was different, but it's like you have this guy who doesn't talk to anyone. He's in his basement, and he has a sword fight with himself. And the way he edited it is like when the guy blocks, then it cuts to the guy on the other side doing the hit. And at the end, he takes all these guys, and they take all these hairdresser machines out into the woods. And then they all get sucked up into it, and then they become liquid, and then they become gas form into the trees. And
I think you've just described an actual acid trip. The movie was probably made while on acid and meant to be viewed while on acid, which I don't recommend.
Yes.
Yeah, it must have been.
You mean you don't condone? You might recommend.
It's hard to explain. I mean, it's fucking...
It's very experimental, hippie.
Like there's literally a 5-minute scene where it's just on a set of stairs, and it's different cuts of people going up and down the stairs for about 5 to 7 minutes. There's one shot on the stairs. And it's like people having nonsense conversations, then a cut is on the same shot of these stairs. Why? Just because. That's a lot of the movies, just because, and like paper airplanes, and then when they hit, there's an explosion, and
that's acid right there, man. Stay away from it. Stay away from it.
They should have called it. They should have called the movie Acid instead of Eggshell. But
yeah, it's very weird.
But
wow.
there were some inklings in there of the weirdness that would to come with Tobe, whose filmography as it went on. But now we've talked about Texas Chainsaw Massacre on the show a lot. We did a live commentary for it. There's no denying its impact on the horror genre. Is there anything that we can add to what we've already said about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre over the course of countless shows?
I think it proves that Tobe Hooper was Rob Zombie's non-biological father. Because having watched several Tobe Hooper films this last week, I was thinking, holy shit.
They could have saved us all a lot of pain and got Rob Zombie to do the remake of Chainsaw instead of Halloween.
He was born to do that. If you want to go crazy with wild redneck characters, there you go.
Yeah, they really could have saved us all a lot of pain.
We don't need Texas Chainsaw Halloween. No.
Yeah.
There you go. Anything else to add to Texas Chainsaw Massacre and its impact?
I mean, it was on the video's nasty list, but it's not gory. It's all suggested. I mean, we've talked about this. We watched it. It's for a very cheap, cheap and dirty, down and dirty film. It just hits all the right notes. I don't know. It's for some people it might be boring or silly, or what modern audiences might not take to it the way we did when we were younger. But it's that movie is why Sam Raimi and Rob Zombie and all these other guys made movies later on. I mean, it is so influential. It's hard to fathom, and it's a great watch. Maybe some people, because it's been built up so much, will watch it and be like, I don't understand the hype. But the sound effects, the music, I don't know. It's just the perfect low budget flick. It's batshit crazy, but completely entertaining.
Yeah. Well, you hit on the fact that so many people, when they think of that, even the people who saw the movie, they swear that they saw blood and gore and that it was a bloodbath. People who haven't seen the movie, just hearing the title or having heard about the film's reputation, they think of bloodbath. Like, my girlfriend did not want to watch it because she thought it was going to be bloody and gory and disturbing. And I was like, honey, no, it's not bloody. It's not gory. It might disturb you, but there's a drop of blood in that movie.
Yeah, like the guy in the wheelchair gets run through with the chainsaw. I think that's like the only place that they actually show a bit of blood.
Yeah.
I mean, even when they hang the girl on the hook, it's implied more than it is anything else. And I think because it's so visceral in its implication, it seems more horrific than it really is.
And there's a little bit to play with. Like, I know in my neck of the woods, it was banned from the theaters around here when it came out. So that makes people want to see it more, and that makes it have more of this notoriety that it wouldn't have had if they just let it screen, right? Like, I think my mom told me a story years ago when she was in college. Her and a bunch of people got together. I think there was one guy that kind of ringleaded it, and they got the film and they played it in the auditorium at the university, and like served beer and stuff like that, and had a big event for it because you couldn't see it in the theaters. You couldn't get it. It had to be like a private event to see it, and so it was it became such a big deal to get to watch the movie, that when people finally got to see it, it's either way, it's a good movie, but it just got got hyped up so much that it kind of gave it a little bit of an oomph, I think.
Well, there's some territories that I think it's still banned in, and there's a lot of territories that it's only recently been off the ban list. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So its reputation certainly precedes it. And what's funny is when my girlfriend finally watched it, she was like, she felt sorry for Leatherface. She wanted Leatherface to kill and eat everybody. You know what I mean? She was rooting for Leatherface. She felt sorry for him.
Mhm.
So, I mean,
I think that they did make Leatherface sympathetic.
they did, yes,
Because
absolutely.
there was that one scene when after he hangs the girl on the hook and he's kind of freaking out, like, where are all these kids coming from? Why are they in my house? And then he sees somebody else run up and he just kind of freaks out.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was a simpleton that was being controlled by crazy people, and he just didn't really grasp what was going on. So he was a sympathetic character.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that, you know, I say that film created the contemporary slasher movie. That movie created the blueprint that they've all followed to this day, and will always follow. That movie created the blueprint that for the rest of time will be the blueprint for the contemporary slasher movie.
Yeah, I look back.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, I see Texas Chainsaw and Black Christmas. Those are the two to me from that era that really kicked off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, made Halloween possible.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Watched Peeping Tom for the first time the other night. You guys seen that one?
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
Thought that kind of gets it going in the right direction as well.
Yeah, that's a really good movie. That was such a shocking movie for the time that the director was completely blacklisted from filmmaking afterwards. It was so shocking for the time, they just blacklisted him.
You know, we also had Psycho in the beginning of the Giallo films in the 60s that kind of ramped up to it as well. But I think of those two, though, as the major, in my mind, Black Christmas and Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah, yeah. There's just something about that film that's so raw and so visceral and so ferocious that, I mean, it's like, I don't know, you know. And I think if they were all seasoned filmmakers, it probably wouldn't be as good. I think half of it is because they kind of just didn't know what they were doing. They were just kind of going by their gut. You know, I know there was a lot of marijuana on that set. So, I mean, it's just so funny. I asked him one time, I was at a convention, and Gunnar Hansen was there, and who else was there? Oh, it was Gunnar Hansen and Bill Johnson. They were talking about being Leatherface. And I asked Gunnar Hansen, how much drugs were y'all doing on that set? And he was talking about like there was a pot patch out back. The catering woman would bring pot brownies and pot cookies, and they'd eat this and then shoot. And like the scene where Leatherface comes through the door, he saws through the door and chases Sally up the stairs. The guy who was operating the camera was so stoned that when Leatherface burst through the door with the chainsaw, the dude freaked out and took off running. And according to Gunnar Hansen, that's the scene they used, because when he saws through the door, he looks over and sees the guy running and then goes, oh yeah, and then runs up after Sally. So the next time you're watching that movie, watch that scene. And, you know, but yeah, so there was a lot of drugs going on that set too. And it was apparently a horrible set because they were working insane hours, super hot, you know, in a room full of raw meat that was quickly rotting in front of them. It was a long, grueling shoot.
Yeah. And in Texas, it's like 100 degrees, you know.
And they blacked out all the windows, so it was even hotter inside. Yeah. And then the whole history of how that movie was distributed and got ripped off. And the bottom line is we'll never know just exactly how much money the Texas Chainsaw Massacre made, because it was all funneled through the freaking mob. So, but yeah, I don't know.
And even though we find out later that the based on true story, true events thing was, you know, very limited as far as how much it was actually based on anything real, it sold it well. It seemed very real. Like that was something that it was very believable. Something like that could happen. And it was one of the first like off-road horror flicks, made you afraid to go into unknown areas out in the middle of nowhere.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that based on a true story thing, like there were a lot of people who believed that, like, you know, Leatherface lived down the street, you know what I mean? Or, you know what I mean? The guy they based Leatherface on I went to school with him, you know what I mean? Stuff like that.
And you could sell that stuff back then, right? Because there wasn't like now somebody'd be like, oh really, Google.
Yeah, exactly.
But like back then, it's like, oh no, my mom's sisters, brothers, cousins, somebody, like, no, this really happened. You know, you could eat that shit up. Right?
Now you can get on your phone and be like, I'm sorry, but it was partially based on Ed Gein.
Yeah. I've already watched 6 documentaries on Netflix.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're a liar.
Which takes away, I think, from a lot of what makes those things special.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, let's move on. If any of you guys out there have not seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or you want to hear us discuss Texas Chainsaw Massacre more in depth, check out our slasher movie episode. Check out our Texas Chainsaw Massacre live commentary. We've talked about Texas Chainsaw Massacre quite a bit on this show. So let's move on and let's talk about Eaten Alive, because Eaten Alive is a really interesting movie. Go ahead, Mike.
I found it to be surprisingly entertaining. I really, really enjoy the flick. The guy who played the lead, the crazy guy that owned the hotel, he makes the movie. I mean, his performance is so out there and disturbing. It's just the only negative I have is that sometimes the crocodile is like Ed Wood bad.
Yes.
There's a couple of scenes like when it eats the dog and when it's chomping on somebody else, when it's clearly a blown up rubber alligator. And I can just see the scene in Ed Wood when Bela Lugosi's pulling the octopus on him and screaming. You know, there's a couple of scenes that are that bad as far as effects go, but surprisingly entertaining. The other gore effects are well done, and the characters are good. I mean, Robert Englund. You know, he's another one that kind of steals the show as the almost hero. He's like a despicable guy throughout the whole movie, and then at the end, he almost redeems himself. And I don't know, I was thoroughly entertained by it. I was really had a good time watching it.
Neville Brand was his name.
Oh, my name's Buck, and I'm not advertiser friendly.
Yes. Well, and Neville Brand, according to Hooper, was like a raging alcoholic, but he would have it together enough between action and cut to do that. And he was also like a Vietnam vet who had really killed people, you know what I mean, and had told Hooper that he'd killed people over there with his hands, you know what I mean. So this was a guy who, raging alcoholic, no stranger to death, playing this absolutely insane character. Is perfect. It was perfect.
I mean, he plays it like a Vietnam vet that's having flashbacks and losing his mind, because you know he does a really good job. You know, sometimes his character is very nice and very normal, and then he just flips a switch and he's fucking psycho, and you never know if he's going to come out of it or what's going on, or if he's going to have a change of heart. I don't know. I liked it.
I think the casting is what makes that movie so great, because, I mean, man, as soon as that movie starts, it feels like you're taking a step into crazy, man. Like, it hits the ground running with just batshit crazy. And
again, I think Rob Zombie. I mean,
he totally ripped it off. I mean,
he ripped that one off to shreds. But
Tarantino's ripped off a lot of stuff in that movie too.
The fact that it was shot on a soundstage, I think, helps it. I mean, the cinematography is good, the lighting's good, the sets look good, except for the croc in a couple of shots. You know, everything. For a low budget, 76?
Yeah.
It was. For that era, it was great.
Yeah. I mean, perfect follow-up. I mean, it was everything you would expect from the follow-up to the guy who did Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
It feels like you just walked right down the road to some other stuff going down.
It's like you walked out of the Sawyer house, you stumbled down the road, you walked into this crazy guy's, what was it, like a little motel kind of thing?
Yeah.
So,
Starlight Motel.
Bed and breakfast type thing, yeah. So it's almost like he had the Sawyers had a cousin in Florida.
There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like you said, Robert Englund, great performance. Marilyn Burns shows up in there, and like when she shows up with like her husband or whoever, and what they've got going on up in that bedroom is just completely whacked out.
That's the guy from Phantom of the Paradise, right?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
the lead guy from Phantom of the Paradise. Yeah, William.
It is.
Finley or something.
He was also one of the doctors in Silent Rage that injects the
Oh yeah,
the killer with that stuff.
that's right.
He's a good character actor, but boy, he's what was the direction in that one scene? You know, where he just kind of loses his shit and he's like shaking his fist at his wife and losing his barking like a dog and shit. I was just like, wow, this dude has lost it.
I think the direction was, okay, turn the camera on. Okay, come here, dude. Here, take this hit of acid and just let the camera run. You know what I mean?
Let's just see what happens.
So throwback to eggshells. It's like,
Yeah.
Hey, let's get crazy.
And Kim Hinkle wrote that too. So, I mean, that was straight up Texas Chainsaw follow up, man. Perfect Texas Chainsaw follow up.
Was it Kylie Richards? Her and her sister were quite in and out of movies and TV shows quite a bit in the 70s. She played the little girl that pretty much did nothing but scream mommy daddy and then scream and then scream and then scream.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. She rivaled crazy flick though.
Like a perfect like grindhouse type drive-in movie theater movie.
Definitely some interesting lighting, like when everything's lit in red.
Yeah.
Gave a very dreamy feel to it almost.
And since it was on a set, all that was on purpose. Everything was designed to look that way for a reason. And I was drawn in by the production values. The house was great. The little area, it was awesome. The sheriff, I mean, some older actors again, which keeping with most slasher films, they always bring back some notable actor to be in there to give it some class.
Yes, Stuart Whitman.
Yeah, Whitman, and you had the guy that was looking for his daughter. He was Ferrer. I can't remember his name.
Mel Ferrer or something.
Yeah,
Jose Ferrer or something.
It was one of those guys.
Mel Ferrer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's nice to have some respectable actors that actually, do something. I don't know. We'll get to the Salem's Lot a little bit later, but definitely, if you like Chainsaw, you have to see Eaten Alive if you haven't seen it.
Yes,
it's great.
It like takes place in the same universe as Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like we were saying, just it's like a Sawyer. Instead of Texas, he's in Florida. You know what I mean?
But it actually has gore. There's way more gore in it than in Chainsaw, which I wasn't expecting. When the first murder occurs, I was like, wow. I wasn't expecting that. That was pretty brutal. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Wacky movie, man. Crazy movie.
A lot of fun. I gotta see this movie. I've never seen it. You've completely sold me.
The Addams Family matriarch is the madam.
Yep.
Carolyn, so it's hard to recognize her because she wasn't that old at the time, but they had her dressed up pretty old, and the way she walked bent over, and it was pretty. I was like, I know that person. And I looked it up. I was like, holy shit.
Yep. Carolyn Jones. Carolyn Jones. Yeah. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Well, in following Eaten Alive, Tobe Hooper was hired to do the movie The Dark. However, he was fired and replaced. So we can overlook that. The same year, Tobe Hooper directed the TV movie Salem's Lot, which I'm a big fan of, and the history of that movie is interesting because I think at one point Romero was attached to it. They were gonna go ahead.
It was going to be a feature movie. It was going to be a full-length movie, and Romero was attached. He was going to direct it, and then they decided to go the TV miniseries route, and that's when he dropped out. He said, "I'm not interested in doing too many restrictions, too many cooks in the kitchen when you do a TV thing. I'd rather just do it as a movie. If that's not what you're going to do, I'm out." So yeah, Romero again, Stephen King. At that time, all these guys were working in the same area. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then Tobe Hooper came in and directed the film. And I've always been a big fan of Salem's Lot. I think Salem's Lot is a movie that it's able to overcome the parameters of a TV movie, the limitations of a TV movie. There's certain sequences that kind of scream this is a TV movie, but I mean the atmosphere, I think the atmosphere in the film is one big thing. And there's some legitimately freaky moments in that movie too. So I mean, I've always appreciated it for the fact that Tobe was able to make a TV movie that felt like a movie. It wasn't just a TV movie.
I've always liked the Nosferatu style imagery they went with. The only complaint I've ever really had about it, I mean, you know, of course, as always, the book's better. But I think even Stephen King said they did a great job of managing the script within the parameters, like you just said. Like, they did a great job of that. So my only criticism I always had is it would have been really cool if it wasn't for TV. Like, what they could have done if it was a theatrical release instead. And I get that happens all the time or whatever. It just, you see what they did with what they had. Would have been cool to see it, for a full release again.
It would have been interesting to see Romero do it. I don't know if he would have done it better or if Hooper would have done a good job. Either one. But yeah, I would have rather seen it as a movie. I have this Blu-ray and I watched it last night.
Oh wow!
It is. It ranges from completely horrible to decent as far as picture quality goes.
Oh, wow.
It's in the
Blu-ray
TV aspect.
only.
It's in the TV aspect ratio. I mean, some of the scenes have so much visual noise and it's snow. It's horrible. And then the next scene will look really good. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Who put that out, Mike?
It's Warner Brothers, I think.
Warner Brothers, yeah.
So they didn't really put a lot of stock into the.
Nah, it was a budget release.
Yeah,
you get it in the bucket of Walmart kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a horrible.
I've got that old Snapper DVD. I don't remember it looking that bad.
It's got a commentary with Hooper on it that's entertaining, but yeah, it was a budget release.
Wow.
I love the cover art though. I love that poster. That's one of those ones that really sticks out.
Cool.
It's actually funny. Like, there's a couple of Hooper movies that the posters stick in my mind more than the movies. But Salem's Lot, I always love that cover.
Well, how many movies have you seen that rips off the vampire, at the glass?
Yeah.
At the window.
Yeah.
Like, I know Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie rips that off. So many movies use that.
Yeah. And that's a super cool sequence. And the fact that that it was shot in reverse to make it even weirder, to make the movements just look even weirder. Yeah, that's just a creepy, freaky scene. And I love the fact that they shot it in reverse. And I like the scene too where like the guy's in the rocking chair.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
And he's like, "Look at me, preacher. Look at me." Yeah, and he's like, his eyes are glowing. The vampires, I think, look really cool.
Yeah.
They've got that gray skin and the bright glowing blue eyes or yellow eyes. I mean, let's see. There was another. Oh, the part where the priest and Barlow are having like the stare down. And the Straker guy's like, put your cross down, priest. Put your cross down, holy man. Face the master. Faith against faith. He
has to trade himself for the boy.
Yeah.
So he has to put his faith to work and say, hey, put down your cross and face this man with your faith, and he'll let the kid go. I enjoyed the flick. 3 hours, though. I think I took a nap in the middle, and I felt like I didn't miss much. All I know is that James Mason, who is a good actor. I mean, he's a legendary actor, but there was a lot of scenes of him doing jack shit in this flick. Now, I can just imagine the direction. Now, walk up the stairs. Now, stop. Now, turn slowly and look at the camera. Pretend you're looking at something. Contort your face around as if you're interested in something that you see. Now turn your head back around without ever showing what the fuck it is he's looking at. Now continue to walk into the house. There's all these scenes of him looking at shit that we don't see, and he's emoting in that old school acting way of emoting that it was kind of silly. It kind of took me out of it a little bit. I don't know. Him being the familiar or the ghoul or whatever he was to the vampire. I mean, because he picked that one dude up off the ground and slammed him into the wall. Yeah. And here's this guy, looks like he's about 80, like a businessman, and he's chasing kids out in the woods and stuff. And there was just certain aspects of that character that I thought were a little hammy, a little overdone. But David Soul, excellent.
Yeah.
He really did a great job. And Bonnie Bedelia in an early role, she was good.
Uh-huh. The kid, I forget his name. He did a really good job, I thought.
Yeah, he was another one that was in a lot of 70s stuff. But yeah, the sequence with the kids at the window and they used a crane instead of wires, which I think kind of added another aspect to it to make it look even weirder.
And I bet they were so high.
Probably. But I enjoy it. It's I agree that if had it been a theatrical release and an R-rated movie and it had been more, I don't know, tightened up, I still feel like it could be about 2.5 hours and still be better. I think there's scenes that go on too long that scenes that don't belong there, that aren't necessary. If they could have chopped it down and that and the TV feel kind of pull away from it, but still it's a classic vamp flick from that time, and I enjoy it.
I feel like it would probably play better as a miniseries. And some of that stuff you're talking about may have been added for time or whatever. All the time constraints. And was it 3 nights? Is that how they showed it over?
I think it was just 2 nights.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I totally agree with that, Mike. But yeah, I love it. It's great. It makes me want to watch it again.
Has anybody seen the sequel?
Oh man.
Yeah, I did years ago, but
I didn't get very far into it.
That's a Larry Cohen joint, man. I don't know how he went so off the rails with that one. Same cover art, same Barlow vampire, not in the movie. The vampires in that movie look awful too, man. I don't know why. Cohen was on some serious substances. I mean, I don't know, man.
I would have liked to have seen a direct sequel where that guy's on the run.
Yeah.
David Soul's character's on the run and the vamps are hunting him down because they killed him. And that was another thing that they didn't do is when he killed the master, the others didn't turn back human. They stayed vampires. Now, in some vampire films, if you kill the master, the ones that have been turned will return to normal. But they didn't, and they went out after him. So he's on the run. He ends up in Mexico, and the girl finds him and tries to turn him. And it was, I don't know. That would have been interesting to me. Him and the kid on the road trying to take out the vampires before they take them out. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
That'll be our second Sausage Factory film we make. You can probably buy the rights for like $1, right? I'm sure Stephen King will give us.
I think he rebought the rights. I mean, Salem's Lot will probably end up getting remade with all the other Stephen King old properties that he's rebought and probably going to sell to Sony. And
I would actually like to see a remake of this one just to see what they could do with it.
Yeah, I think
they did change the vampire. He was your suave Dracula, in the book. He was a normal looking, speaking normal guy. And they changed it to the Nosferatu type thing, which, was cool. But I don't know. It sounded like he was a bit Jerry Dandridge in a way in the book. Like Fright Night.
Right.
I don't know if that approach would actually work well with it, or if they should stick with the blue-faced Nosferatu guy or not. I mean,
the one they did with Rob Lowe a few years ago, that one was really good too.
It does a really good version. Yeah.
And that had the great Rutger Hauer as Barlow.
Yes.
Improvement.
And it was more Barlow than the old movie.
That was Rob Lowe when his career was still in the toilet. Before he came back.
Before he got on the West Wing or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a guest.
Yeah, we got a guest. She was annoying me. Yeah.
Let's see. Let's move on. Let's talk. Does anybody have anything else they want to add about Salem's Lot? Okay. Yeah, it's sad that the Salem's Lot sequel was the theatrical movie, and this one was the TV. But still, I like it. I like Salem's Lot. In 1981, Tobe Hooper did the Funhouse. Now, I love the Funhouse. In my review of the Funhouse, I talk about how whenever I watch that movie, Tobe does such a good job of establishing the carnival itself as like a character.
Mm-hmm.
And like you can like smell the popcorn, you can smell the cotton candy, you can hear the barkers, you can hear the screaming from the tilt-a-whirl. You know what I mean? It reminds me of going to the carnival as a kid, and you know, pretty much what was going on behind the scenes of the Funhouse movie is what I was imagining going on behind the scenes of the carnival that I went to as a kid. You know what I mean?
Well, part of the screaming you heard on the rides, from what I saw from an interview, was when they shot that scene where all the characters are smoking the joint behind the building, and kind of in the shot you can see like the octopus ride with people riding it. Apparently, they were on that ride for over an hour and they just forgot about them. And and the screaming you heard was actually people freaking out and puking all over the place.
Yeah.
So it was real screams of terror. And so, you know, they had to get medical attention in there, and some people couldn't walk, and they were all messed up. And he was, I totally forgot about that. I was so I wanted to get the scene that I didn't even think about that ride had been running for over an hour. Yeah. So those extras got a little bit more than they bargained for.
Yeah.
That was $10. Get the.
Yeah.
We fed you lunch, but then we spun you in a circle until you vomited. So I don't know if that counts.
All I got to do is ride this ride. Sure, no problem. An hour later, oh.
You mean I'm going to be in a movie? Yay! Anyway.
I'm going to sue you. But a lot of people complain about this movie being slow. I know the beginning of it was shot as an afterthought. After the movie was finished, the part where the brother attacks the girl in the shower, which is an obvious homage to Halloween, kind of establishes it as a would-be slasher flick. I didn't really have a problem with the build-up. I mean, back in those days, that's the way it was done. Yeah. You introduced your characters, you introduced the story, and then in the last half hour, that's when all the action happened. You know, there was a build-up, and I thought it was effective in the way it did it. Maybe he was too focused on the carnival. Maybe people feel that way, that it was too much carnival, not enough action. But the carnival was the whole reason for the movie, because he was fascinated with him when he was a kid. So the carnival was the whole reason the movie was made. So you can't get away from that. As far as the little kid, I didn't really have a problem with the little kid sneaking out to go find his sister. There was obviously, you know, he wanted to get her in trouble, and he wanted to go but couldn't go. I mean, we were all little kids that wanted to sneak out and go do stuff. I didn't really have a problem with that. I like how they tied in the beginning at the end, after he gets scared and then he remembers what she says to him after she gets out of the shower and corners him after he hit her and attacked her with the fake knife. I like that kind of resonated a little bit. And the fact that she could see her parents but they couldn't hear her, although unbelievable, it was still, you know, salvation is just that far away, but you still can't reach it. Yeah. Hopelessness feeling. I thought it worked. In The Creature, it's a creature feature slasher flick. I liked the creature. It was a sympathetic creature, not unlike Leatherface. I don't know. I liked the characters. The guy that played all three of the Barkers. It was one guy. I thought he did a great job. He really held the movie together, and the cast of characters with the carnival freaks, and they got the flavor and the feel, and you know, it's kind of a punishment for doing things you shouldn't be doing and going places you shouldn't be. I don't know. I enjoyed the flick. I really like it. Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Rambo? I know you recently reviewed the Funhouse.
I liked it. I liked the look of the carnival. You had the real life freak shows of the cows, which was pretty freaky. Just being like, one had like no jaw, and like one head was like two faces, and I think they were real sideshow freak shows. The music of that was well done. I like the look of the creature. I forget who it was it Rick Baker or someone who had a hand in it? I forget who it was, but it was a well done effect. I like the fact that he was wearing a Frankenstein monster mask underneath. That was an interesting idea. Again, the actors did fine. I had no problems with the actors. The only two issues I had, I didn't care for the kid little sub because I felt it didn't really lead to anywhere. It's kind of like this little side story, and then this one moment, oh, I could escape, which I can't. But it's like a lot of filler that I think if you took it out, nothing much would have changed. It just, for the people who felt it was slow, would have moved the movie faster. And I didn't like the way the monster died, where it was just, she didn't even do anything. I mean, granted, it was different, but it was just like the monster killed himself from being stupid. And it's like, I thought that was rather lame. Like, just, oh, now he's on this hook, and then he just automatically, now he's in his deers, and then he's on this other thing, and I'm like, how the fuck did that happen? She's just staring there doing nothing. It's like the monster literally killed himself by this, causing the Feb butterfly effect that went to like 5 stages. I went, I don't know. I wasn't really a fan of that either. So, but those are like those nitpicks. Overall, I liked the Funhouse. I thought it was a pretty decent flick, but just had a couple little problems. But it's a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely like a second tier slasher flick. It's not up there with the classics in my opinion, but it's definitely a good one.
What do you think, Stingray?
Yeah, pretty much agree with these guys say. I mean, I enjoyed the film quite a bit. It's a fun watch. I love seeing the carnival, the carnival atmosphere. It's something different. I think you don't really see that in a lot of movies. And I'm old enough to remember when there were like freak shows and stuff at the state fairs and carnivals and stuff. I remember seeing quite a few. Really feel sorry for those people that had to do that type of stuff. That you're basically being oogled, all day long by people. But it really brought back some memories for me when I watched it soon after Toby passed away a few months ago.
Have you seen the Funhouse, Rahu?
Yep. I don't really like it, so I kept my mouth shut. It's not, I don't like circuses or carnivals or anything like that. Like I don't get into any of that, so I think that's kind of lost on me. I love creature features, and I love them. I do like the monster in the movie, and especially it's a nice touch with the Frankenstein's monster's mask, and there are things that I really want to like about it, but I can't. I just have a hard time getting behind the carnival aspect of it. I just don't really like that scene, so just wasn't for me. But like I do like the movie enough to, I've seen it once or twice. It's the only. I think it's the only Hooper movie I own. It was. I wanted to get Phantasm 2, and it was in like a 4-pack with it. So I got the Funhouse or whatever with it. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that I think it's bad. I'm just not nuts about it myself. That's my only thing. I like the monster.
Alive, alive, alive. They are all alive.
Well, maybe it doesn't resonate because of the era. I mean, because again, back in the day, we didn't have all the distractions. So when the fair, you look forward to the fair every summer. You look forward to a carnival coming through because there just wasn't, besides the movie theater, if you lived out in the middle of nowhere, like I did. I grew up in, surrounded by corn. I was 50 miles outside of Chicago, but I was enough outside of Chicago that when you're a little kid, you're stuck in the cornfield. So when something like the fair comes along, it's a big deal. And then when you become a teenager and you can actually go to these things by yourself without your parents, it's a huge rush of freedom in an otherwise, world there's not much there, just because you're all of a sudden your boundaries are expanded a little bit, and the thrill of smoking weed behind the tilt-a-whirl or whatever with your buddies before you go through the Funhouse. I mean, I remember that feeling, so maybe that part resonated with me more because circuses and carnivals and fairs were a big deal to us when we were younger in the medieval times.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I can totally relate because, where I grew up, very small town, literally no entertainment for kids, no movie theater, nothing for kids. So when the carnival would come through town, it was enormous. It was an entire town event. I mean, you saw people, the only time you'd see them for the entire year would be at the fair. And it was the rickety carnival rides. It was the sort of, the guys, standing over to the side smoking cigarettes who looked like they hadn't bathed in weeks, who put those rides together. And you're thinking, oh my God, if I get on that, I'm probably going to die. But hey, I got nothing better to do around here.
You're looking at that bolt and the octopus, and you're thinking, I could get one more ride out of that thing before the bolt comes out.
Yeah. I was on the tilt-a-whirl one time. And was it the tilt-a-whirl? And, it's got a pin right in the center, and you're spinning around the pin in the center. Well, the top of the pin flew off. So literally we're spinning in this thing. I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to die. I thought the thing was just going to come loose. We would fly off, and we were going to die. I thought we were going to die.
Wow. Yeah. But yeah, so that film really evoked those memories for me, and I don't, maybe I like it more because of that, and I can forgive some of its lesser qualities. Because I can't argue, the way the monster dies is kind of, I don't know, lame. I guess you could look at it that way. I kind of looked at it as the monster was a bumbling creature that didn't really understand its place in life, and maybe it wasn't as coordinated as you know what I mean. It just seemed, and I don't know. I didn't have that much of a problem with it. There were a few things, but the atmosphere is really, the lighting, the sets, the acting. It was enough to overcome for me its shortcomings.
What I always like to do when we go to the carnival was there was always the guy who had like the big tray of meat. And he would have like a mop that he would dip in the barbecue and just throw the mop on the meat, and just, that's how they would barbecue the meat. That's how they put the barbecue on the meat. Just put the mop in the thing, throw the mop on the meat, and just mop the barbecue on the meat.
And nobody knew any better. Everybody's standing there drooling, I want some,
I need it right now.
Nobody thought, oh, gross, he just used a mop. No, it was just like, fuck, look at that, it's amazing.
Well, it was the sauce mop. I mean,
but it doesn't matter that he mopped the bathroom with it the night before.
And they're going to Avenger movie.
That didn't even occur to us,
Interesting.
Why do these ribs smell like pine salt? I don't know. They're fucking good. Eat them.
Wait a minute. Is that a urinal cake? Who cares? Just knock it off.
Yeah.
Put barbecue sauce on it. It'll be fine.
Have you guys ever noticed when you go to the carnival where you paid for your tickets, the person was always at an elevated position? You ever notice that? You'd always have to reach up. Do you know why that was? The woman taking the tickets can look down and see how much money you've got in your wallet. And if you've got a bunch, if you had a big wad of money in your wallet, she motioned to somebody standing over to the side. This person would walk up behind you with either a piece of chalk or some dirt or whatever and mark you, so that when you were walking down where all the barkers were, they would know this guy's got money, I want him over. So they would try to pitch you more than somebody who's not marked.
Yeah, they go for the hard sell.
So is that where the whole mark ass trick comes from?
Yeah, that's how it started.
What if you fool your ass and say, well, you have Monopoly money in there? So
You're wasting your time and annoying me.
They're like, come on over here, son. Try your luck at throwing the basketball that's this big into the hoop that's this big, and you'll win a feather.
Little do they know, all of my credit cards are maxed out.
Yeah.
You'll win a pink elephant like Dartman. Just give me the pink elephant.
Yeah.
Let's move on to let's see what's next in the Tobe Hooper filmography. We're getting into oh my gosh, we are getting into the 3-picture deal that Tobe Hooper made with the Canon Company. And I think that all 3 of these movies, 2 of the 3 movies, I think are absolute classics, masterpieces. The third one I still enjoy, but
I know which one you mean.
Let's talk.
I don't know which one it is.
Let's talk about Lifeforce, okay? Lifeforce is
honestly, that's like if Tobe made Poltergeist all his own, it'd be Lifeforce. Because you see almost similar effects like in Lifeforce. Like if Tobe had no Steven Spielberg, it would be Lifeforce.
It's
right.
Titties all around.
It's a Poltergeist with Merkins.
Poltergeist to me. I said this in my review of it, but I was like, this movie is masterfully made on every level. I mean, you when you think of canon, you don't think of like super high quality movies with big budgets. Lifeforce, the production design is fantastic. The cinematography is fantastic. The effects, for the most part, are fantastic. From a technical point of view, the thing is absolutely flawless. There's a great cast in this movie as well. Awesome freaking cast in this movie.
Stephen Railsback.
Stephen Railsback, Patrick Stewart. You've got a great Matilda May. Yes. Great cast in this movie. Phenomenal cast. Great music from Christopher Young. it's an epic movie. It's space vampires, but it's an
Naked
epic
space
movie.
vampires.
Naked space.
What was it? Christopher Young?
Yeah, it was Chris Young. Yeah,
I know he did Invaders from Mars. I didn't know he did Life Force.
that was Invaders from Mars. You're right. Who did? Crap, I forget who did. Well,
I remember the main theme. It was in a lot of trailers. Like it was in a Van Damme trailer called Death Warrant. The same music.
Yeah.
That.
yeah, really good music. Let me see. Henry Mancini did the music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Chris Young did the music for
Invaders from Mars. Kind of from the features.
Yeah. But yeah, I love Life Force. I think Life Force is a masterpiece. And by the end of Life Force, it is absolutely crazy. You've got it's almost like a zombie movie. You've got all these space vampires everywhere. You've got the vampiric bolt flying through the streets of London, blowing stuff up. You've got like the streets, it's panic in the streets of London with space vampires.
He definitely had a budget, yeah.
Yeah. And the one thing that everybody remembers when they mention Life Force is Matilda May naked the entire movie. Now I understand why, but when I think of that movie, I just think this is a freaking masterpiece. This is it's still Tobe Hooper because it's still crazy. It's still out there, but it's Tobe Hooper with a budget, with a great cast, with great just creative production people all around him, and this was the result.
Let me tell you guys, she looks great in a high def too. That Blu-ray.
I've got that Blu-ray around here somewhere, and yes, she certainly does. She certainly does.
You know, they actually had to delay filming because when they started, she was smooth as a seal, and they had to get her some time to grow some hair on her pubic area.
Oh,
What? They couldn't use a merkin?
I don't know if they actually used merkins back then, but no.
Toby was famously anti-merkin.
Oh, okay.
Because she's what, Italian or French or something like that. So they were.
I think she was French.
Yeah.
But didn't speak a word of English. I mean, can you imagine you're directing this completely naked, beautiful woman? She doesn't understand a word you're telling her. You know what I mean? I'm sure they had a translator there, but still, you know what I mean? Wow. What a movie. What a freaking movie Life Force is. And I'm glad that finally now people are recognizing it for the masterpiece that it is.
Yeah, I think it has some problems with pacing, fairly early on. I think it doesn't work quite right just for me, but and once it gets going about halfway through, it picks up a little bit.
I agree with that.
Unfortunately, it's kind of the movie that derailed his career because it wasn't the hit they were hoping for.
None of those three were canon.
Too? Didn't they cut the budget quite a bit, in the middle of production?
No, I think this one was the one where they were just like, "Here's a bunch of money, go make a movie." Okay. He had total freedom. He had a big budget, and I mean that was what.
And that's probably why they took money away from Chainsaw 2. His Life Force didn't do well.
He had a $25 million budget, and he only rang at 11.6 in the U.S.
Yeah, all three of them didn't do well, so I'm sure Canon and retrospect were like, "Fuck you, Toby." Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, though, Menachem Golan had the book Space Vampires. He handed it to Tobe Hooper and said, "Make this into a movie."
From what I understand, Toby, he wanted to make a Hammer film. Like, he was a big fan of Hammer horror movies, and this was sort of his version of a Hammer horror film with the nudity, the blood.
Because he did make it. Well, another thing I love is the spaceship for the space vampires. It's almost like a Gothic castle spaceship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are still those Gothic elements in it, kind of like they turn into bats and stuff. You know what I mean? So
yeah, those cool bat humanoid dead bodies, and you even see one at the end.
Yeah,
when the guy gets stabbed.
And that was Mick Jagger's brother.
Okay.
Yeah. Odd. Yeah. But
and I like the effect scene with the blood that forms into a complete body, and very unique. It's not considering a lot of 80s effects movies, it's not. I can't think of another movie that has an effect quite like that, where the blood comes out of two people's eyeballs and it forms an entire body. And like, there's some unique stuff in there, and even the dried up corpses, which Tom Cruise's The Mummy stole. When the person gets sucked and then they're shrinked, wrapped, and turned to nothing, but they're still alive.
Those they look fantastic. There's some really good sequences with those. You know, I mean, they're practical, they're puppets. You know what I mean? But they look great.
Mm-hmm.
They do look a little puppety, but yeah, I still like it. I mean, I'm a fan of the movie.
Steve Railsback is a bit weird, maybe because like he disappears for like 40 minutes. But he's our lead movie. He's our lead, so I mean it was kind of weird. It's just like, oh yeah, I thought he was the lead. Oh, is he coming back?
Yeah,
I think that was like the first time I saw. Oh, he's back, and he's like the lead, but he doesn't really do anything until the end, where he's naked with Matilda. They don't really die. They just go up in a beam of light and they go back to the comments for the sequel, I guess.
I think you're overthinking that.
Oh yeah, I do that all the time. So.
Railsback is weird for me just because the first thing I ever saw him in was Helter Skelter.
Yeah.
So every time I see him, it's like, it's Charlie. He was so good in that movie. It's just.
Yeah. When I think of Ed Gein, to call back to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or when I think of Ed Gein, when I think of Steve Railsback, I think of Ed Gein, to call back to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah. He was really good in that too. Yeah, I love Lifeforce. It got a really good Blu-ray release from both Scream Factory and Arrow a couple of years ago. Both are worth looking into. It's just a great movie.
Both cuts, or just one cut?
You mean
the extended and the theatrical? Have you seen the original cut? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, great movie.
All I can say is naked space vampires. If that doesn't make you want to see the movie, nothing will.
And let me tell you, that says it all. That silence says it all.
Yeah.
That silence just says it all. That silence says it all.
As I recall, a teenage me was pleasantly surprised when I rented that movie.
The adult me is still pleasantly surprised.
I thought when I was a kid that it was just some silly, like, do you guys remember the Lifeforce video game?
Yeah, for Nintendo. Yeah,
it has nothing to do with the film. It was called Salamander in Japan. It's like a space shooter. It was on the NES, and they called it Lifeforce for whatever reason when they brought it over here. So I always just assumed, because if you've seen the cover of the movie, it's like the spaceship up in space, and like I was just like, oh, it's just some kind of sci-fi movie. You know, rented it, and I'm like, this is not what I expected. So, yeah, there you go.
But you know, I mean, that was Toby's brilliant. Toby's brilliant coming through on that one, man.
You know, if you got to have your lead actress be completely nude for the entire movie, they picked a great choice. I think Matilda May is just perfect for that role.
Right. Yeah.
To be completely nude for the entire movie.
She was very easy on the eyes. I did completely overlook Poltergeist. I do apologize for that. But do we really need to discuss Poltergeist? Really? I mean, when I watch Poltergeist, I do see a lot of Tobe in it, but there's definitely a lot of shades of Spielberg in there too. So I mean, I don't know what the exact whatever was going on.
I'd love to see a documentary about what actually happened.
I would love to. Yes.
Like that would be like if they were ever thinking about doing a new release, like let's get down to the nitty gritty. Let's get the real story. I feel like no one wants to tell that story, but
well, they were going, but Spielberg just put the kibosh on it back when the first DVD came out. Because the guy was interviewing people like Craig T. Nelson, and Spielberg said no.
So
Spielberg
that's the
said no, you can't do it. That's why that DVD came out. There was no features except real life ghost hunters. Like, who gives a shit?
Oh,
nothing about the actual movie, because Spielberg said, no, don't have anything. We're not giving you the archives. Put the kibosh on it.
I really like Poltergeist, but at best
Steven
I could call it a collaboration between Hooper and Spielberg that feels more like a Spielberg movie. The music, the lighting, the way the acting is directed. To me, it feels like a Spielberg movie more than a Hooper movie. So he was involved in it, definitely, but I don't think his involvement is predominant.
There you go. There you go.
I'll be honest, man. I don't think Poltergeist holds up very well. I watched it a few years ago, and I was like, I'll never watch this movie again.
I still really enjoy it.
The thing that gets me this time watching it now as an adult was the plight of the parents. As a kid, I thought about the plight of the kids. Now, as an adult, I think of the plight of the parents. You know, the helplessness of not being able to help your kids against this. You know what I mean? This evil force. You know, you're helpless against, you know, the tree that's eating your freaking son, and you know what I mean. The poltergeist that sucked your daughter into the wall. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It affects me differently now as an adult than as a kid. Yeah, it's not scary. It's not scary.
I love Zelda Rubinstein. Oh, sorry.
The sequel was creepier than the first one. I thought the guy who played the preacher was amazing.
Yeah. You're all gonna die in there. Okay, so yeah, let's. You know, Poltergeist is Poltergeist. It is what it is. Lifeforce is a masterpiece. There's no debating that.
And I would watch Lifeforce before I would watch Poltergeist.
Yes, absolutely. I would watch Lifeforce a million times before I watch Poltergeist.
I like Lifeforce. I'll put Poltergeist above it. I like both.
I mean, they can make a full-length documentary just on like the, you know, what happened, the Poltergeist curse or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Just
Steven Spielberg just steal everything.
maybe Spielberg's the one who got after Feldman when he was a baby.
There you go. Maybe that's the guy. Maybe he's the.
Maybe that's why it's such a big deal.
Steven Spielberg
Making mild accusations here.
I'm not the first one to say that, by the way.
Right here in the Sausage Factory first.
Yeah.
Stingray. Go public. Only you give him $10 million.
I will give you $10 million. If I had $10 million.
Jay, Stingray here live on Sausage Factory.
This is his way of
Go
getting
to your Patreon.
Yeah.
$10 million, Jay will tell.
You have to give. Spielberg's going to give Corey Feldman $20 million to shut up.
There you go. Yeah.
Which he easily could do with his, what was he, $6 billion in there? I think he's in there.
We do need to mention the Sausage Factory, the Sausage Factory GoFundMe or fundraiser. I've not figured it out yet, to buy Mike a new PlayStation 4 after his old PlayStation 4 bit the dust. Because I mean, we can't have you on the trash box, Mike. We can't have you on the trash box.
I've been trying to play Friday the 13th on the trash box. It is.
It's the only one. I have it on the Xbox as well, and I see the streams.
Just destroyed the game. I can't even get into a lobby, and if I do, it bugs out and it ends. I will have to say that I think the graphics on the trash box are slightly better in the game than on the PS4.
Boom.
Did the just the base Xbox One come with 4K?
No.
I think you got to buy the S.
Okay.
I have 4K on the S. I don't have a 4K TV, but I have 4K.
But I actually went out and got a physical copy of the game for the Xbox One just because I'm a Friday fan and I like physical copies of stuff. And if I was going to buy it again, it was not going to be another digital download that I could just lose like I did the last one. So, yeah, not much of an improvement, really. I've tried to play it. I played as Chuck or the stoner guy or whatever, and
he's shitty up.
The small maps are horrible. The Jarvis house, really, you can play the entire game on the map without going in the house, and we're not even realizing it's there.
Yeah,
because it really doesn't serve much of a purpose. I don't know. It's still what it is. It's still coming soon.
Well, I mean, have you talked about this already on here, Pizdal? I mean, we got Fox is in there now.
Yep, Fox is in there now. Yep, she is new. I don't like her. Her stats are not good. We got the new Part 4 Jason. I really don't like him. His stats aren't good. And they've added a bunch of new environmental kills in the game. Like Jason can pick up a screwdriver and stab you with it, or pick up a knife and stab you with it. He can kill you with like a boom box now.
Oh, cool.
Let's see what. And they added a bunch of new kills just for Part 4 Jason, but you got to buy them.
Yeah, $2.99 to buy the kills. I thought that was when I saw that, I was like, "Fuck you!" It's not pissing me off.
Yeah.
Finish the game before you start with the microtransactions. Damn it!
Like I get it, like everyone does it and all that, but like to put out a new Jason and be like, "Okay, guys, it's out there. We're not going to charge for them." But then, but if you want the cool kills, you're going to have to pay $2.99. I was like,
And they can't cry that they haven't made enough money off the game.
They're probably making way more than they ever expected for how. It was launched.
They should give us that shit free as an apology.
Yeah.
This game sounds like a winner.
You know, but the core experience of it, though,
The game is excellent.
They really nailed the feel of a Friday movie. I mean,
Right.
I think
I've
that's what
seen
pisses
that
me off so
video
much, because
too.
there's a really, really good game there somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just broken and unfinished, and it infuriates me because I want it to be as good as it could be. But it's
Have
not.
you been in there to see Tommy's room yet,
Yeah.
Mike?
Yeah.
I mean, that looks really cool, man. That's like spot on. Like they did a great job with that stuff.
I would rather they fix the fucking game, though.
Sure.
Sure, that looks great. It still plays like shit.
That goes without saying, I think. But yeah,
Glitchy as shit. I'm watching Pizzal. He can't grab anybody as Jason, but Jason can grab him, and I've been having the same problem since day fucking one.
Yeah. Well, and two, I mean, they've been talking about this single player for going all the way back to when they were doing the Kickstarter. Yeah. It's like, where is this single player, man? You know, what are y'all doing?
And I heard rumored that it's not actually going to be a campaign. It's going to be like scenarios.
It's supposed to be like a challenges.
Yeah, some kind of weak shit.
Kill people in the shower or something.
Yeah, like at first they said it was going to be, like it sounded like you were playing Hitman. You kill everybody as stealthily as possible. You know what I mean? And while completing challenges, like you know, kill 2 people while they're off in the woods doing it, or kill so and so in the shower or whatever.
What they teased us, though, was that, this game starts when people are alerted to Jason's presence, which is like mid-movie to them, right? And they have a whole story that builds up to that point that they were going to have as the single player. Mm-hmm. Now that's out the window, and now it's like you said, it's challenges, it's dumb shit. I don't know. For a game that's of a franchise that I really, really enjoy, and the game has so much potential, just to see them bobble it and fuck it up at every turn, it's just depressing.
I mean, I agree. I totally agree. And what's bad is like even the super diehard people who were defending the game in the beginning, you know, they're a small dev team. Give them time. You know, those people have turned against them now too. Whenever they post anything on social media, check the comments. It is hate. It is hate.
Yeah.
And like the other night when I was streaming, I was like, okay, let's stream, let's get a party together. And it's like, okay, there's 3 people online. You know what I mean?
Right.
2 months ago, there'd be 25 people online, and they'd all be playing the game. Now it's like you can't.
But isn't that the thing where a game's window is getting shorter and shorter because there's so many new games coming out?
Well, yeah, I think it's that, but I think with Friday the 13th, the problem is that there's still problems with the game, and they're so slow to add new things, but they're so slow to fix existing problems. You know, it's like, I don't know. Like Mike said, it's very, very frustrating. Being a fan of the movies and wanting this game to be excellent, they're almost there. Like the look and the feel of it is great. The core dynamics are fantastic, but it's the little glitches. It's the little that just like pop up, and you're like, oh God, I'm stuck in a glitch again. Oh God, you know what I mean?
Like the same thing said since day one, and it seems like they're improving it, but they're not improving it. But they are, but they're not. But here's some swimsuits.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That costs money, by the way. You have to buy those.
They didn't give the
Why would you buy
away.
those?
I did.
Gee, I go into a cabin and I can't open up any fucking drawers, but hey, thanks for the the swimsuits.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, come
How
on.
much do they
I'm not
cost?
complaining about that.
I think they were $2.99 too.
Oh, okay.
Like about $5.99 or $2.99 or something.
You get the emote pack, which I got also.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing too. I totally forgot what I was going to say. Crap, I don't even remember what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I would buy that shit if I could play the game. Like I don't know about everyone else's experience, but like just the other day I tried booting it up and I still couldn't get into a match. And if I got into a match, like I was Jason, I had like 5 or 6 of them just running with like chickens with their heads cut off, trying to get the car together and just couldn't get their shit together. And I'm like, here we go, and the game kicks. Like
Yeah.
you can't get a full match. Like we had 2 matches. Me and a buddy of mine were playing, and neither of the 2 matches we managed to get into completed, and the rest of the time was spent hopping in and out of lobbies just trying to get a match.
Yeah.
And I'm like this is unacceptable at this point. Like,
Well, I was able to play it last weekend, but then there was a new update, and since I've updated it, it just will not play. It just crashes. I get booted. I haven't been able to play a game since the update.
This was after the update too, because I still not played the driver's house because I couldn't get into a map, and yeah.
Every time they do an update, they screw it up, and then they have to do another update to fix that update, and then you know what I mean. It's just mess. It's a mess.
Wow.
And like you said, like I got on the other night, and it was like, okay, I've waited 15 minutes. Let's get in this game. Let's go. 4 seconds in, game ends.
No.
I was in a match the other day, and I died, and then I came back as Tommy. They got the phone or whatever, and I'm like, sweet. So it boots up. It does the intro sequence. I'm standing in the graveyard, and I can't move. I just couldn't move. So I was like, I just have to see what happens. So what was so funny was the guy, whoever was Jason, was like hunting down everybody else. Never thought to go to the graveyard. I just sat there. I sat there for like 15 minutes. Like this guy never came to the graveyard. So I'm like, I guess you're gonna lose. But I could not move a muscle. Like a buddy of mine was still playing, so I was like calling him up. I'm like, so what's going on? And he's like, I don't know, we're playing or whatever. I'm like, go to the graveyard. There's Tommy just standing there. Anyway, I was so pissed off.
Well, they've added some new things to the game that have made it even more difficult to play as Jason. Tommy now spawns in with a pocket knife and with a can of med spray. Like the other night when I was streaming, Tommy has just spawned in. I go grab him, and boom, he hits me with a knife. And I'm going, what the hell? He just spawned in. What's going on here?
He was already overpowered to begin with. Why did they feel the need to pad him?
Exactly.
I didn't think Tommy was okay.
Yeah, I think he is. I think
he's fast. He's super fast. You know what I mean? Like he can like. There's little. Sure. He's only the shotgun's useless pretty much. It's like a waste to have it. It's like one shot. And,
oh my god!
But
the shotgun. Tommy was pointing the gun here. I was standing here. He fired and it hit me.
I've had the complete opposite experience. Pointing it straight at his mask and it does nothing.
Yeah, I find it useless.
You got to shoot like 10 feet away.
Okay.
That's how you hit him.
All this sounds so infuriating. Drive me insane.
I've got a love-hate relationship, man, because they've captured the element of Friday the 13th.
Right.
Perfectly.
The music and
it looks great. I mean, when it works, it's really fun to play.
Yep.
Right.
And I totally agree with what everybody else is saying, but I don't think we've had as much problem on PS as you guys have on Xbox.
I have a lot to grump about, I think, but like when I did get to play it, like you said, I could play for hours. Like I could completely lose myself in match after match. If it's humming and everyone's playing and everyone's having a good time, and I'm switching Jasons, trying out different modes. Like, you know what I mean? There's a lot of game there. Like changing a counselor or changing a Jason can change your experience completely. Like I just started playing Part 2 Jason a little bit, and like it's like you know what I mean? It's like it's completely different than when I was playing Part 3 Jason. And like anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, they also, what they've done with the map, if you pull up the map, like say somebody died with the phone fuse. If somebody died with the phone fuse and they did not call out where that fuse was, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. Now on the map, it will show where the fuse is.
Like, why do they need to give
if you have gasoline, it will show where all the objects are on the map. If you take them and you drop them somewhere, it'll show you where they are on the map.
And one thing about Xbox is that nobody wants to use the mic. I don't know how many lobbies I've been in where I'm the only one wearing a
That's because
headset.
everybody's in group chat.
And I've been killed. I've dropped the keys next to the car. I'm like, oh, by the way, I've installed the battery and I dropped the keys next to the car. Jason's about to kill me.
I don't do that.
I dropped the fuse right by the phone box. Jason is after me. I don't have time to fix it. It's right by the phone. Nobody responds like, oh, I didn't know.
Well, for the longest time, there was that glitch where if you died with the phone fuse, even if somebody found it, they couldn't pick it up. It was stuck
be
in the
embedded
ground.
in the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be embedded in the ground. Yeah.
That was bad. Another one I had was I rolled a perk to get the radio like on spawn as a counselor, and it never worked. Like there's no like gray area. It's not like sometimes you wake up with a perk with the radio. It's like you will spawn with a radio. It never worked. I just stopped using it.
Yeah. Well, but and this makes up for all the game's problems. They've added the Jarvis tapes now, written by Adam Green.
What?
I'm gonna have to leave the show. I have to play the game now.
Yeah. Peel me away.
I'm gonna take out the movie. I'm gonna put in the game.
What was it? The Jarvis what?
The Jarvis tapes.
They have tapes in the game. Very rarely you can find the Pamela Voorhees tapes. And it's like an audio tape, and they're incredibly hard to find. Now they've got Tommy Jarvis tapes.
I found two. Actually untold hours of playing, I finally found two.
I think I found three.
I don't play it very often, but like my friends do. They played it to death, and now they're kind of coming back to it. So I'm hoping to get back in. Because like they moved on to Rocket League for a while. They couldn't care less. But
and what's stupid is there's like a 0.00001% chance of you finding a Pamela tape, but you can find duplicates. So it's like, yeah, I found another Pamela tape. Lightning has struck twice in the same place. Oh wait, it's the exact same Pamela tape.
Oh my god. I think I saw a guy on Reddit that had like he showed his like screen. He had like something obscene, like 800 hours in the game, and he's like, "I've not found a tape yet."
Wow. That's crazy.
800 hours? Yeah, I would say I'm probably not too far from that.
That's wow.
Are you at level 101?
97.
Okay, Joel.
Wow.
Okay.
I wish I could put that much time into something.
I had to start over at 0. That sucked. That sucked.
Well, let's get back to the matter at hand here. Let's talk about Invaders from Mars from 1986. Now, I have mixed feelings about Invaders from Mars. Like Lifeforce, I think that movie is masterfully made. I think it looks fantastic. Daniel Pearl, who shot Texas Chainsaw Massacre, was a cinematographer. You've got a great score by Chris Young. The sets look great. The monsters look great. I think it was Stan Winston did the monsters, I think.
Well,
yeah, him and his
initially
crew,
involved.
and then Stan left to do Aliens, and left his crew there to finish up, like Alec Gillis and some others.
You got a really good cast. I think the movie's it's purposefully kind of over the top and kind of campy, which I dig. But the one thing that really hurts the movie there's two things that kind of hurt the movie for me. One is all of Tobe Hooper's movies, or most of them, I should say, they have this weird energy to them. Invaders from Mars has no energy. And the kid who plays the lead, his expressions
Fucking sucks.
his expression for everything is exactly the same, and it's this. That's his expression for everything.
He can't even run and scream right. He's like,
Yeah, flailing his arms around while he runs. Yeah,
it's like this shit. I know it's the writer's son who's a friend of Toby, but still, there's a lot of kids that got.
Yeah, was he directed that way, or was it like his mom was standing, Karen Black, his mother, standing right there, and Toby was like, "I better not get too mean with this kid," you know what I mean? Did he just have to go? I guess that's going to have to be good enough because I can't.
Hey, kid, eat these brownies.
Yeah.
And it's
But
like, I know it's a kid, but still, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it was so silly. It almost to me it had to be on purpose. I mean, because it was just so obvious. It was every time he ran with his arms flailing and almost like the falling off the ledge, whoa type cartoonish type. It seemed
yeah.
like it had to be on purpose.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think he
Crazy.
was. Yeah, I don't know. His mom was Karen Black, the great Karen Black, and his dad was L.M. Kit Carson, who wrote
Chainsaw 2.
Well, he wrote Chainsaw 2, and he also wrote Paris, Texas.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I don't know. I like the movie overall. I like the look of it. I like the cast minus that kid. It's a really well made movie all around. It just doesn't have that energy to it. It's a mixed bag. I do like it though. Overall, I like it.
I really enjoy it. The ending, however, I will have to agree with Rambo. The ending is fucking horrible and almost ruins the movie. I mean, it is terrible, but
The ending is very
yeah,
bad.
it's got Lorraine Newman in it from Saturday Night Live. She even does her Conehead voice, and I think that's lost on future generations. You have to kind of be a fan of the old Saturday Night Live to kind of get that reference. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was kind of cool. Actors were good. The sets were great. The lighting was great. Cinematography, the creature. It felt like a goofy. It was almost like a I don't know. It's like a kid's flick, but with an edge.
Right.
And it was just surreal and weird. My biggest problem with it is the ending. Other than that, I really enjoyed it.
What do you think, Rambo?
Not a fan of the movie. Some good looking effects. I like the look of the set of the Martian spaceship. The first hour, really nothing of any remote give a crapness happens other than when the frog gets swallowed by the
Louise Fletcher.
But it's like really nothing happens except this kid who can't fucking act, and then he's trying to act and flailing his arms. Karen Black didn't really do much for me. I like he was in Return of the Living Dead, and he was in Poltergeist as the
James Karen.
Yeah, I liked him as the general, but the ending makes the entire movie pointless. I know that was the ending of the original film, but that doesn't mean you have to copy it. It makes everything that happens pointless, and like the first half is really boring. Really nothing happens until they get to the spaceship, and then it's like, okay, there's Krang from Ninja Turtles. It's a big brain that with a mouth and eyes, and you have some fucked up Pac-Man creatures that just swallow people like Louise Fletcher, and like the effects of that scene was cool, but the rest of the film, like the first hour, really nothing happens. There's a scene where Karen Black and the kid are in this playing hide and seek in the school, and just by pure luck, this drill pops out so they don't die. Like the entire scene could have completely been cut out, and nothing would have mattered. I mean, again, the ending's such dick. I don't think it's that good of a movie. It's compared to all the remakes that came out, The Thing, The Fly, The Blob. I thought a really poor remake, and I don't know why Tobe did it. Honestly, maybe because he was a fan of the original, but maybe tried to stick too close to the original. I haven't seen the original. Other than the effects, I don't really find anything noteworthy about it.
I think he was a fan of the original, and I think he was probably drawn into the fact that this was I don't want to say a kid's movie, but a more family-friendly movie, but still with that Tobe Hooper strangeness. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know, maybe, there was the thought that, maybe this could cross over. Maybe this could do kind of what Poltergeist did, But
maybe if the kid was good and the ending was different and didn't make the entire movie pointless, maybe I'd be more lenient on it. But
the ending is
those are two like huge sticking points, and it's just
I'd forgotten about the ending. The ending is it's
everything pointless.
Very unsatisfying ending. Yes.
So maybe if he had done like what Carpenter did with The Thing, because he's Tobe Hooper, he's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Maybe if he had upped the ante and kind of, because what Carpenter did, The Thing was one of his favorite films as a child, and apparently Hooper was also a big fan of that sci-fi stuff. And there was a lot of remakes around that era, The Thing, The Blob, that were superior to this film in pretty much every way. But I don't know, there's something about it that I still enjoy it.
Yeah.
It could have been a lot better. Maybe it's the potential. Like at the beginning, I thought it set up like a really good relationship between the father-son that they never really explore.
Yep.
And I thought maybe if they had explored that relationship a little bit more, the father turning would have been more, dramatic. It would have given it more weight. But just all of a sudden, the next day, he's Mr. Robot. And it was just like, and there was something missing there that I felt like they could have added some weight to the story had they made the father-son connection a little more, dramatic, I guess, if they would have explored that more.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, his dad worked for NASA, and his kid was obviously a fan of space, and you could tell that they were looking up at the stars and having a really good father-son bonding moment, and the mom comes out, time to go to bed, and he's like, no, we're going to watch. There was something there that they didn't explore, and maybe it wasn't explored in the first film, but, that's what remakes are for, right? You kind of explore something a little bit more, that would have added maybe a little bit more to it.
Well, I think maybe the themes of the original were very much, the Red Scare, the commies are taking over, they're going to drop the bomb, and even though, in the 80s, there was still sort of that, there was somewhat that fear, you know what I mean, of the commies and what have you.
Red Dawn.
Red Dawn, exactly. Yeah, there was still kind of that fear. So I don't know, maybe the themes just didn't quite translate the way that they wanted them to, or I don't know. I kind of look at the original one is very much of that time and place, and those themes. I think the remake kind of explores those themes, but it's also more of a, the fear of the childhood fear of your parents aren't who you think they are, kind of thing too.
Yeah, exactly. And being a kid and nobody believing you, and the only person that believes him is the school nurse. I mean, that's a good thing. But I kind of felt like its goofiness took away from it. It almost felt like when they were on the Martian ship, it almost felt like the Explorers. Where they meet the goofy aliens, and look, it's Krang, and they got these two bumbling critters that could have been Bebop and Rocksteady, but they're not, and so the tone shifts. It's like it could be a really good, serious, scary film, and then it's puppet show, and then you got the kid running around flailing his arms. So I had to believe that it was tongue in cheek on purpose.
The teacher
right?
and the kid's like, yeah.
So
the monster's eating the teacher, and then the kid's like, yeah, but then it's supposed to be serious.
Yeah, so is it the Explorers? Is it the Monster Squad? Is it the Goonies, or is it a horror film? I mean, it's the tone shifts so rapidly but overall, it's I don't know, the overall goofiness of it, I think, endeared it to me. So I enjoy it for what it is, except for the ending.
What about you, Rob? Have you seen Invaders from Mars?
I've not seen it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I had nothing to add.
Okay.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Well, let's talk about the movie that ended Tobe Hooper's 3-picture deal with Cannon, and that's Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, the sequel to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a movie that I've always thought was Tobe Hooper's answer to people who said that they saw blood and gore in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because there wasn't any blood and gore in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so the blood and gore in part 2 is like excessive. It's in your face. And also the comedy of the original Texas Chainsaw. People overlooked it because of how grim and how raw and ferocious that movie was. So the comedic elements in Chainsaw 2, again, much like the blood and gore, is just right in your face.
Yeah, it always kind of reminded me of like the difference between Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2.
Right.
So it's like if you like Evil Dead 2, how can you not like Texas Chainsaw 2? Because it's the same kind of a sequel to me. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's something about it too, where you have the comedic elements, which there's some really funny stuff in Chainsaw 2. You have the ultra gory moments, but the movie just has this overall super grim sort of look and feel to it, and all that together just creates this it's the first time I saw the movie, I had no idea what to make of it because of all those things all thrown together. You know, I didn't go into it necessarily expecting a comedy. It had the blood, it had the gore that I expected. I think it was even grimmer as far as just the look and feel of it than what I was expecting. And then, of course, you throw the humor in there, and you know what I mean? It's just, it was very off-putting the first time around. It's not what I was expecting.
But I laughed at the first movie, though. I mean, the brothers, you know, their interaction with the hitchhiker and the head brother that's actually one of the only actors to actually return. Seadow?
Jim Seadow, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, his character cracked me up the way, look what you did to the door, boy! You know, I'm rolling watching the first film, so to me, the comedy was just an extension of that relationship of the family, where they were these backwards, you know, incest spawned, you know, weirdos that were on the road after the first film, you know, and they ended up at this other location, and they're in, like, was it like a chili cook-off or some kind of shit?
Yes.
You know, it's oh man, it's
what I love about it too, you know, Chainsaw was very much of its time, 70s grindhouse, you know, hippie era. Chainsaw 2 is very much it's yuppies, it's 80s, you know, the Sawyer family, they've turned cannibalism into capitalism, you know what I mean? Like the chili cook-off. God, that sequence of him with winning the chili cook-off, and he's got that trophy that's a chili bowl, and it's oozing chili all over him, and he's like, it's all about the meat. My family's always been in meat, you know. It just kills me. Everything with Chop Top kills me. He's always digging at his head with that
he's got the coat hanger, he lights it and heats it up and then singes himself and then licks it off.
Yeah. And I mean, and Bill Moseley, oh my God.
This was my first Bill Moseley movie. And I can never, ever get Chop Top out of my head when I see him. Like, for everything I've ever seen him in, I'm like, oh, it's Chop Top.
Exactly. Yeah. But he was so good in that movie. And he really wasn't like an actor before then, you know what I mean? He was like writing and doing stuff, you know what I mean? He was so good in that movie, nobody hired him for like the next 5 years.
Yeah.
He couldn't get work for the next 5 years.
Which is why when I saw him in the remake of Night of the Living Dead, I think he played Johnny at the beginning. It just, you know, it took me out of it. I was like, oh, there's Bill Moseley. Yeah, so that kind of.
Does anybody remember Bill Moseley as Ricky Caldwell in Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 with a cereal bowl on his head the entire movie?
I remember that. Like no light. Looked like a toy on his head. Like, light bright.
Yes. Most modern audiences will probably remember him most from Devil's Rejects, but he was great in that too.
Yeah. But Chainsaw 2, oh my God. And like we were saying earlier in the show, you know, this was the one, and people have speculated, well, what if Chainsaw 2 had been the first movie he did for Canon? And they put the kind of money and production values they put behind Lifeforce behind Chainsaw 2, and the creative freedom that they gave Tobe for Lifeforce behind Chainsaw 2. By the time Chainsaw 2 had come around, Lifeforce had been an enormous flop. Invaders from Mars had flopped. Canon Films were in financial crisis. And you know, they're making Chainsaw 2 on a tight budget, tight schedule, and all that. And while they're making the movie, they're pulling money out of it. And the Golan Globus had no idea that Hooper was making a comedy.
Right, they thought it was another scary movie.
They thought it was going to be
flat
like
out scary.
Yeah.
Which is probably the only reason they even allowed him to make the third film, was because it was a sequel to a film that was financially profitable.
Right.
So they're like, well, so maybe if he did that first, he wouldn't have made all three films.
That's a possibility.
You know, so
it is the only one that made money though too. I think it doubled its budget back.
And that's why they let him make it, because they knew the title alone would probably get the budget back.
Yeah. And like, you know, and halfway through making that movie, they just pull $1 million out. You know, they were rewriting that movie while they were making the movie. L.M. Kit Carson famously said that he was sitting on the set writing a scene and he fell asleep. And somebody walked up to him and woke him up and said, "You don't have to finish writing that. We just filmed it."
Yeah.
So that's how they were literally making that movie by the seat of their pants. I think it's a testament to how good a filmmaker Tobe was that Chainsaw 2 that Chainsaw 2 didn't turn out like Spontaneous Combustion turned out. You know what I mean? So,
well, the script, it was supposed to be that Hopper was the illegitimate father of the lead, and you find that out later on that he was the actual father for, which that would have been interesting to be in the film, but I'm guessing because the budget cuts or something. I don't know if they ever filmed it. I guess not.
I think I don't know if they filmed it, but there was a scene in the script where he reveals to her that, like, you know, hey, I was, you know, or there's some sort of, there's a realization like, oh, you know,
yeah,
you're my father.
Didn't this have a lot of scenes stripped out of it?
The Joe Bob Briggs scene.
Yeah,
where he's like,
isn't there a whole scene where they get the chili meat? Like it was completely stripped out or something like that. Like
there's a scene where they kill like a bunch of they kill
like
a bunch
from a
of
football game or something, like in their garage.
it's like it's in seats or something. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was quite a bit of stuff cut out. Yeah.
For a movie that didn't have a budget ripped from it, you think they put every bit of it on the screen, but
But yeah, they were, you know, pulling money out of that movie all the time to, you know what I mean, like to make ends meet or to do whatever. It's funny. Alex Winter talks about the Golden Globus guys on the Electric Boogaloo movie, and he's like, you know, the rumors were always that they were, you know, they would raise all this money for a movie, and then they'd only put 10% of the money into the movie. Like, where's the rest of the money going? Are they pocketing it? You know, and the rumors were that they were funneling money to the
Israeli mafia,
the Israeli army, So they
the first one, and then the Israeli. Oh my god!
So they'd go out and they'd go, okay, we're making Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 with Tobe Hooper. We want $30 million. They'd get $30 million. They'd make the movie for $5 million. Where'd the other 25 go? It's either went in their pocket or where'd it go? So the rumor was that it was all going to that army. So,
oh my gosh.
Calling the Delta Force,
and that's part of the reason why they got in so much financial trouble. They'd raise so much money for movies like Spider-Man. You know, Tobe Hooper was going to direct Spider-Man.
Which is just batshit crazy.
Yeah, they raised all this money for a Spider-Man movie. First it was Tobe Hooper, then Albert Pyan, then I think somebody else too.
The guy did Invasion USA and Friday 13th Part 4. Joe Zito, yeah. And they raised all kinds of money for that movie. Never happened. And so, I mean, they're stuck. Where'd the money go? You know, they got people suing them. You know, their movies aren't making any money. So, I mean, yeah. But, you know, Chainsaw 2, Stingray, tell us about Chainsaw 2.
Oh, man. It's just loads of fun. First time I met Bill Moseley, I think I got him to sign 4 different pictures of Chop Top. This was like back in like 2010. I was like, oh man, I'm such a huge fan. I was like, I want this one, I want this one, I want this one, and yeah. Awesome. But yeah, it's just, I mean, it's bonkers. The whole movie is, and I love it. I love Hopper, and obviously we'll get into it here in a little bit. But
yeah, Hopper had a good year in '86 because he had, well, I don't know if he would have counted Chainsaw 2 as part of his good year, but I mean, you know, you're talking about Blue Velvet. You're talking about when did
River's Edge? Is that what you were going to say?
River's Edge. When did Hoosiers come out? Was that '86 too?
I don't know. I thought you were going to say My Science Project.
But this was, you know, Hopper was really starting to come back into his, because he'd had a lot of years there where he was, you know, lost in, you know what I mean, like just an ongoing coke binge for days on end. You know what I mean? So he was coming back. And my favorite story was that Tobe Hooper said that whenever he would shoot Hopper, if Hopper was supposed to be like drunk in that scene, Hopper would spin himself around in a circle to make himself dizzy and like make his eyes be dancing all over the place. So like when he opens the door to his hotel and Stretch is standing there, if you look at his eyes are like bobbling inside of his head because he spun himself dizzy before Tobe yelled action and he opened the door because he wanted to be like, you know what I mean, messed up.
That's all.
So he was clean during this period of time, right?
He was clean. Yes, he was clean. Yep, he was clean. Yep. I also another one of my favorite scenes. This is brilliant. When Hopper walks into the chainsaw store and he just throws out this big wad of cash, he grabs all these chainsaws. And the guy's like, go out there and hit that sucker a few times. And he's sawing into that big log, and he's just going crazy, sawing into that log. And the guy's back there on the stairs going, you know, just like so giddy watching him do that. And like there's just debris flying everywhere. And at the end, when Hopper's in there, like singing the Bible verses, and you know, while he's sawing down, you know, that underground labyrinth, you know. Just brilliant. It's so insane, but it's just brilliant. Yeah. It's brilliant.
And the Lord of the Harvest.
Yeah, that's some kind of new health food bunch. Great stuff, man. Great stuff. And they did all that just under complete duress. You know what I mean? It's a wonder that movie came out as good as it did. So. Raho, have you seen Chainsaw 2?
Yep. Okay. I saw it not long after I saw the original and was not prepared for what it was at all. Even though I probably should have been, because like a lot of the promotional art is like this like weird like 80s, like, you know what I mean? That it's pretty much mimicking like Breakfast Club or something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's I probably should have saw something coming, but I didn't. I had no idea. I remember my thoughts then were this movie. I prefer the original, I think, but I remember thinking this one's so much more entertaining than the first one. It's just so batshit crazy, and like I said, Chop Top, I couldn't stop, man. I could for days. I'd lick my plate. I just found this movie very, very entertaining, and yeah, that's my main thought on it. But I haven't watched it in a long, long time. Yeah, so.
Yeah, really good cast, like we said. You know, you've got Jim Sedow in there. You've got Carolyn Williams as Stretch, of course, Dennis Hopper. Yeah, just great stuff. And we've got a Leatherface who is sort of the you know, he's going through puberty. He's having a lot of changes. You know what I mean? Like when he's
bizarre.
Yeah, like when he's in the like when he first meets Stretch and she's in that bathtub full of beverages and ice, and you know what I mean, he's like touching her nether regions with his saw, and he's just very confused.
Very confused lad.
But that, yeah, just I love it. Love. Anything to add, you guys? Chainsaw 2?
Fun, funny, underappreciated.
I agree. I very much agree. Now, this was also kind of a turning point in Tobe Hooper's career, kind of a crossroads. From 74 to now, we've had some good output from Hooper. We had Chainsaw, which is an out-and-out classic, Eaten Alive, Salem's Lot, The Funhouse, you know, Lifeforce, Chainsaw 2. I'll even throw Invaders from Mars in there. You've had some pretty darn good. He had a really good run. The problem is, you know what I mean, I think even at that time, there was some questions about, you know, did he really direct Poltergeist? What's up with that? Lifeforce, Invaders from Mars, and Chainsaw 2 did not perform well. And I mean, he went to television. He did a lot of television. He did an episode of Amazing Stories. He did an episode of The Equalizer. And he directed the pilot episode for Freddy's Nightmares entitled No More Mr. Nice Guy, which details the backstory of Freddy Krueger and how he became Freddy Krueger, the mistrial, etc., etc. Has anybody seen that episode of
Yeah.
I actually owned it on VHS. I wish I still did, because I remember it looking like they shot it for about $12, but I remember it being pretty darn good.
It's probably the best episode of Freddy's Nightmares.
I was going to say it's the only episode I liked. Was the pilot. It was interesting. It felt like they had a bit more talent behind the camera, even with the low budget. And maybe because Robert Englund actually, he was the star of the show. Others, he just pops in and out, whatever. It was an interesting way they told the origin, I guess what you call it.
Yeah, it was cool to see, Freddy Krueger, the man, Freddy Krueger on trial, all that jazz that was pretty interesting. It clearly was very, very low budget, but it was well done.
And the courtroom looked like something out of Night Court or something. I mean,
yeah.
For Richard Mall to come in.
But I really like that episode. I wish I still owned it. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. It probably looks awful, but I'm sure it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
I think I streamed it years ago on YouTube, and it was shit quality, but I think it's the only episode I've ever seen. I can barely remember it either.
I wish they would put all those out.
I was getting ready to say, I wonder why they've not put those out. Is it because they're just such poor quality, or is it because they're just not very good? I mean, still, people would buy it. People would buy it. You know what I mean?
People would buy
it. A lot worse stuff on DVD.
Yeah,
a lot worse.
I love horror anthology TV shows. It's like I own pretty much everything. And I own one. It's like one DVD with like 4 episodes on it of Freddy's Nightmares, and even that's really bad quality.
Yeah.
It's
like the best.
The El Rey Network had it last. Looks like.
Really.
El Rey apparently started airing in 2015.
I think they've already quit because I wasn't even aware of that.
A Blu-ray collection of the original 7 of Nightmare on Elm Street films included 2 episodes of the show, apparently. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
But El Rey Network has been airing the series since November 3rd, 2015, so it might actually be on there.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about. Let's see. He did 1 episode of the Haunted Lives True Ghost Stories TV miniseries. He directed an episode of Tales from the Crypt. Then he directed what I consider to be completely underrated, a really good movie called Night Terrors. Rambo, I know you're a big fan. Tell us your thoughts on Night Terrors.
Oh yeah, Night Terrors. That's so fucking awesome. Robert Englund, he's the Marquis de Sade for about 5 minutes that they stretched throughout the entire movie, and that would have been a better movie, but instead it's this girl, and she has her archaeologist father, and nothing happens but a shitty softcore porn for about an hour.
Nice.
So like something that was getting at, you see a naked guy on a horse and his ball flopping on the horse, riding into camera, dick and balls out on a horse naked, so you get that for your shits and giggles. She does nothing, and then all of a sudden, an hour in, like 5 people die in like 30 seconds. There's a head in the fridge, and then the sort of nanny is hung, and then her father they cut right to her father. He gets his throat slit literally in like 40 seconds. All this shit happens. And it's boring as fuck, and terrible writing, and Robert Englund also in the present day as a descendant or like distant relative of the Marquis de Sade. I don't even give a fuck. The movie sucks. It sucks because it's poorly written, it's poorly acted, nothing happens, then everything happens. The ending, the thing he wanted was these scales, and then these priests that only he sees but the lead doesn't, makes his ears bleed for some reason, and then he falls down and he's dead, and then it cuts to the flashback of Marquis de Sade, who spits blood at his face, and then he dies, and then the movie ends. I'm like, I wasted my fucking time watching this fucking movie. There's a scene where the Marquis de Sade, like the 5 minutes of the Marquis de Sade in it, he's looking at a guy and somehow makes the guy rip out his eyeballs just by talking to him. I don't know why. I'm like, if there's anything supernatural, the movie didn't tell us that. It's a junk. It's crap. It's worthless to watch. Fuck that movie up its ass. I do not like it. It's one of his worst movies, easily. Easily top 3 worst. Fuck it.
You said it all right there. And I apologize, guys, because I overlooked 2 movies. I must be getting tired here. My eyes are crossing. I overlooked Spontaneous Combustion and I'm Dangerous Tonight. Now, Spontaneous Combustion is I don't know how you would describe it other than a movie that makes absolutely no sense. But I don't think it's necessarily Tobe's fault. This was a movie where there was a lot of interference from the producers, a lot of interference from the money people. At some point, Tobe was locked out of the editing room, and they just edited it 3 ways from Sunday. The movie started out as one thing. Then they decided to edit to make it look like something else. Then they didn't like that, so they edited it to make it look like something else. And the end result is Spontaneous Combustion. And it starts out good, but when it derails in a truly amazing manner. It's at one point a woman confesses her love to Brad Dourif and flames shoot out of his groin. So that
John Landis has fire shoot out of his mouth as if he's Godzilla.
Yep, John Landis is thrown in there. Yeah, it makes no sense whatsoever.
It's fun.
It tries to be a bunch of movies and it fails. I mean, you get to the ending where it's like he turns to a pit of light, and then his girlfriend's on this $5 fire, and then this hand comes out and takes the fire away, and he goes to where the hell he goes to, and the magical white light of beam that he became. It tried to be Scanners, Firestarter, The Fly, 10 other movies. Brad Dourif is good, but the script that I see in the movie is piss poor because it doesn't know what it wants to be. And so we're supposed to feel sorry for Brad Dourif, but then in another moment he kills 2 innocent cops and it says, "Burn, goddamn you!" And I'm like, what did those cops do? But then we're supposed to feel sorry for him too. The movie can't make up its mind and what it wants to be, and I think that's the big problem for me. What do you want to be, movie? Pick one.
Right.
Or pick 2. Don't pick 15.
Yeah. I mean, it's, yeah. Yeah. It's, yeah. And a lot of people look at Spontaneous Combustion and go, okay, this is where it starts going downhill for Tobe Hooper. I do want to mention I'm Dangerous Tonight briefly because that's a TV movie that he directed in 1990 with Matchkin Amick and Norman Bates. His name is escaping me.
Anthony
Perkins. And I think it's pretty darn good for a TV movie. Not as good as Salem's Lot was, but pretty good. I rewatched it recently. It's not as good as I remember it being, but I like it. Rambo, I know you saw it recently. Your thoughts?
It was the cast. I mean, you have Arlie Ermey, you got Anthony Perkins, you got Dee Wallace. One of the leads is actually the guy in Friday the 13th Part 5. He was the greaser in the car. He's like, "You fucked up, man. I'm going to kick your ass." You fucked. He's the guy in Friday the 13th Part 5 that says that he actually has a lead role. The lead role is from Twin Peaks. The cast made it worth one watch. But the idea of this red cloak that is possessed is a premise. Yeah, it's hard to make any movie good with a possessed cloak.
I know.
But I mean, for a TV movie, and the cast made it a time waster for me. But the premise and the fact it was made for cable, so it's going to be tame, and it is a tame movie regardless of the shitty premise. I mean, it's a fucking cloak.
Right. But I like Magic and Amit's performance. Arlie Ermy, I think, gives a good performance. It's just for a TV movie, it's pretty good.
There's been a lot worse.
Exactly. Tobe Hooper directed the eye segment for Body Bags for John Carpenter, which is actually my favorite segment in Body Bags, starring Mark Hamill. And thoughts on Body Bags? On the eye from Body Bags, I guess I should say.
I know I've seen it.
Mark Hamill was decent. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I know I've seen it, but I don't really remember it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember it too. Isn't he a
the one
baseball
where
player or
he's
something?
he's a baseball player.
He's a baseball player. Yeah, he gets he gets an eye transplant, and it's like the eye of a killer or something to that effect. And
yes, okay, that's it does.
Yeah.
I remember the cover of Body Bags more than anything else. Again, I keep saying that, but that where the guy's ripping through the bag or whatever.
Yeah.
And I've definitely seen the movie because I can remember this segment you're talking about for sure. But loose memories.
Yeah.
I do remember not being overtly impressed with the film altogether. I thought it was okay, but I didn't really think it was anything, extraordinarily special.
Yeah, I love the whole thing. I like Body Bags quite a bit.
Yeah, I like it too. I think the only one that I don't really care for is, well, I don't know. That one's kind of, I was going to say the one with Stacy Keach and the hair, but that one's kind of fun too.
Oh, yeah, I love that one.
I like them all. I guess I just like them all.
I guess I should
Stacy Keach is awesome.
Yeah, Stacy Keach is awesome. Yeah.
Can't beat my camera.
No, you cannot.
No.
Did the other guys?
Stanko.
Did the other guys have anything to say about spontaneous combustion or on Dangerous Tonight or such? Or did they even see him?
I've not seen
quickly curious.
I haven't seen the TV movie.
Stingray, you said you thought Spontaneous Combustion was fun.
I liked it, man. I had a lot of fun with it.
It's just so crazy.
I don't really hold it in any high regard or anything. I just thought it was a fun time for solitary watch, not something you want to.
Kurosawa's a big fan of it, apparently. I hear so.
I think I rented it once, watched it, and was done with it. I started to watch it to prepare for the show, but I just couldn't. I had Salem's Lot sitting there. I had, I was like, what am I going to watch? If I have to choose, well, I'm going with Salem's Lot. So
there you go. You made the right choice.
Well, I own the DVD of Spontaneous Combustion, if that means anything.
Okay.
And I bought it after I'd already seen it. So.
Are there any extras on there?
I have no idea. I haven't seen it in years.
Oh, okay. I'd love to hear a Tobe Hooper commentary over that movie. Let's go back to 1995.
I'm actually going to bail before you guys do your thing. I'm going to have to head out. But
okay.
Great time, and enjoy the rest of the show, and I'll talk to you guys later.
All right. If we don't see you again, have a happy Halloween, bub.
Absolutely.
Happy Halloween.
I'll be talking to you soon. Cheers. Happy Halloween, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Take care.
I remember 1995 seeing trailers for a movie called The Mangler. I was also a subscriber of Entertainment Weekly at the time, and I remember reading about The Mangler in Entertainment Weekly and thinking to myself, a movie about a killer laundry press? Okay. I remember the movie came out. I remember the movie went away really quickly. I remember in Entertainment Weekly, they would have the review section. And on the review section, they'd have this grid with like 5 different critics, big critics. And they would grade the movie, A, B, C, D, E, F. And at the end, they would have the median grade. And I remember the Mangler's median grade was like a D.
Oh, wow. That's better than I was expecting.
Yeah, really.
Might have been a D-, but it was a D, as I recall. Then I saw the movie on Cinemax, probably at 2:00 in the morning one night, and I thought to myself, I thought to myself, this is a fun movie. I've always had a soft spot for, and I'll tell you where it clinched it for me. I think I was on the fence about The Mangler until the crime scene photographer bolts up ramrod straight and pukes blood all over the camera.
Yeah.
That's the scene that sold me on the Mangler. And I've always been a fan of the Mangler ever since. And I actually just watched the Mangler tonight, and I have to say, every minute of that movie I loved. Every minute of that movie I loved. It was so fun. It felt like Tobe Hooper going back to his roots, because it's got that energy to it. And it's a movie about a killer laundry press, for God's sake. You've got Robert Englund in there. He's more machine than man. He's chewing up every scene that he's in. I love Ted Levine's performance. I love the guy, his like parapsychologist buddy, who's running around asking all the victims if they're virgins. You know, the crime scene photography guy is great. That movie looks and feels and has the energy of a Tobe Hooper movie from, you know what I mean, years before. That felt. Go ahead, Mike.
I always really enjoyed it too. I think it's based on a Stephen King story, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in the same collection as The Lawnmower Man. I enjoyed the story, it's King's version of it, and I really enjoyed the movie. I thought Hooper knocked it out of the park, and there's a lot of bad King adaptations, but I don't think people really understand just how weird Stephen King really is. And I thought Hooper captured the insanity of the story and made a good flick out of it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Rambo, I know you're a big fan of The Mangler.
Yeah, I mean, I'm enough of a fan. I actually got the Blu-ray from overseas of The Mangler.
Nice.
Which has the uncut version as well as the theatrical cut version.
Oh, nice.
So, I mean, it's a German one, so there's a booklet in German, but there's a lot of nice pictures. And what Pizza was talking about, the picture man. That's
there
him right there. And yeah, it is a stupid idea. We all know it's a stupid idea. But you know what? If you're gonna have a stupid idea, go for it. At least go for it. And don't hold back. I mean, the beginning has an old woman get her head crushed, and in this version you see more of her actual head being crushed. And there's nothing left but she has to be taken out in pails.
In a bucket.
Buckets. And it's like, okay, damn. Robert Englund, he's like, hell's bells, Odell. It's like, yeah, I'll do something. I'm going to dance. I'm going to do a jig. It's like Robert Englund just being over the top, having fun. Ted Levine, he's a very underrated actor. It was nice to see him not just be the bad guy. It was cool that he got to be the lead. And he was it's a dirty, gritty, it's a dirty place. And it's like, if you don't have a laundry press, have the one that Satan himself would use. I mean, the devil himself would use this for his laundry. And the picture man, like he's spitting blood on the camera, the ice box from hell, that a ghost comes out of it or something. Robert Englund's death, where he gets, this is like his remains, like there's nothing left.
Yeah, that's a great, when he's getting folded up by the thing, you know, like he's a piece of laundry. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is so awesome.
And they said, you know what? Fuck it. Let's have it grow legs, shoot fireballs out of his ass, chase and pull people apart, and go for it. And that makes it fun and entertaining. I like some of the dialogue changes. I like the look of the film. I think it's pretty well shot considering the subject matter. Mm-hmm. You want to see bad, folks? Watch the sequels. Watch The Mangler 2 and The Mangler Reborn, which I saw long ago, and they were god-awful, horrible movies. The Mangler 2 of Lance Henriksen, The Mangler Reborn, which has Reggie Bannister in it, Sally, that costs like $5 to make. You want all those are your cup of tea. This one, though, it's for the subject matter, it's a lot of fun. It's entertaining. My only nitpick, I would change some stuff for the very ends, but other than that, it was, you have an uphill battle with that kind of idea, and I think they run in the right direction. I mean, I'd rather watch this than the stuff they have sci-fi like Sharknado, which is another silly idea. But if you don't want to take a silly idea, I like what they do with the Mangler more than those kind of movies. Like this one, even though it's fun, they take it serious. It's like they realize they take it serious, it becomes much more fun.
Right.
And I feel I could tell it's done on purpose because you don't have Robert Englund look like this. I can't even put it right. With a eye patch and these weird things on his legs, and you don't do that without knowing there's a little bit tongue-in-cheek. And considering the comedy he's done, even Chainsaw 1 and 2, you can tell he's got a little bit of a humor in his movies. So I've seen a lot worse movies than this. People call this one of the worst movies ever. Take a look at some of the movies I've seen.
I really think at some point the Mangler will probably like what's happening with a movie like Lifeforce now. People are going to have to rediscover the Mangler because like at the time people literally like this is the worst movie ever. I mean like people just destroyed it, and like I don't get it. Like even Stephen King, like I was reading somewhere Stephen King was talking about the Mangler, and he said he was like, you know, he said something to the effect of, you know, Tobe Hooper is a genius. I think Tobe Hooper is a genius, but when genius goes wrong, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking, you know, I think he did it right. You know what I mean? I think he went, like he said, he went all the way with it. And it, like I said, it looks and it feels and it has that energy and that insanity of a Tobe Hooper movie.
Well, when King said that, I would have looked at him and said, well, exactly. You're the one that wrote the story. You know, so if he made a movie based on your story, if your story was a stupid idea, how is that his fault?
I mean, Stephen King not liking the films made off of his stuff is not an uncommon thing. Yeah.
I mean, Romero talked about how he holds grudges and he actually takes it personally if he doesn't like an adaptation.
Yeah. Well, didn't Stephen King have issues with something that Romero did with the Dark Half, and he was mad at Romero for years over it?
Yeah,
I'm sure.
And I mean, he absolutely hated Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah.
I mean,
I knew that.
Hated him personally for what he did with The Shining. I guess his hatred for him was notorious, but George said he's pretty out there sometimes. Still
does. Still won't let it go.
Yeah. Yeah, he was pissed at George when they did The Dark Half. He was still mad at George about something he did with Creepshow. So
that's right.
So when he pissed him off again with The Dark Half, that like made it even worse.
Yeah.
It was because he made him look so stupid in Creepshow, right?
Yeah, he thought so. Yeah.
To Stephen King.
I mean, it works. It's so great though. That's what makes it so much fun.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think Stephen King understands that that's kind of what we expect from him. So what George made him do in that movie was actually just what we believe is Stephen King.
Right.
So it didn't do you any harm.
Yeah, and I don't know how you play that character straight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
You don't?
Yeah.
If it had been straight, it wouldn't have been nearly as good as it is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and you brought up Stanley Kubrick, and I know I told this story not long ago, but I love this story so much, and I ran across it the other day on YouTube, where Tobe Hooper is talking about the time he met Stanley Kubrick, and like he walked into he walked in this room where Stanley Kubrick was, and he was doing the sound mix on a movie, and like somebody ran up to him and was like, "No, you can't be in here. Mr. Kubrick's working." Blah blah blah. And so he like pushed Tobe out the door, and so the guy was like, "Oh," or Tobe was like, "Well, you know." We tell him that I'd like to meet him. So the guy went in and told him that Tobe Hooper was outside and wanted to meet him. So according to Hooper, Kubrick ran out of the room, gave him a hug, was like, you know, I love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, blah, blah, blah. And the thing is, the movie that he was doing the sound mix for was The Shining, and it was like 2 or 3 years after the movie had already come out. He was still working on The Shining 3 years after the movie had come out. Still working on that sound mix. You know what I mean? That's insanity. But I mean, that was Kubrick. You know what I mean? Kubrick was calling Stephen King at 4 o'clock in the morning, asking him if he believed in hell while they were making that movie. You know what I mean? Craziness.
They wrote a story about a guy with grass pubes. Called Lawnmower Man. I mean, come on, Steven.
Pedophilia and various other subjects he's covered. Yes. Look in the mirror, Stevie.
Well, I mean, does anybody have anything they want to add about the Mangler? I mean, I love it. I love it.
The last quality Hooper film. I really think his career ends with this movie for me.
Okay.
No disrespect. I'm just saying after this point,
Right.
it's all downhill
We're
to
a
the
big
bottom.
Gin fan. Come on.
Gin fan, yeah.
We'll get to Jen momentarily.
I like the Mangler quite a bit. I saw it in the theater way back when with my brother.
Wow.
We caught all the the new horror films, and I liked it quite a bit. It's kind of one you don't really hear talked about very much. I know they did a sequel with Lance Hendrickson.
Yeah.
In it, and that sequel's pretty terrible, but but yeah, I like the first one. It's a lot of fun. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
And the third one's even worse than the second one.
Oh wow! I didn't know they made another one.
Yeah, where Reggie Bannister has it.
Oh wow!
That's how bad it is. You've never heard of it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you
Mangler
this,
Reborn.
Rambo, what exactly is the difference in that director's cut version, the unrated?
Just a few of the gore scenes are longer. Like when the girl gets put in, you see an up close of her head being squished into the Mangler. A few extended seconds of Robert Englund's character being folded.
Mm-hmm.
It's like certain extra seconds of gore added in. I mean, it's not
all
5 minutes or anything. It's extra points of gore.
Probably stuff they had to take out to get a rating.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'd love to see that.
Let's
Screen
move
Factory.
on.
Go ahead.
We got a lot more TV here. Nowhere Man, Dark Skies, which actually that was he did the pilot for Dark Skies, which was a Steven Spielberg produced series. Perversions of Science, Prey. They needed a TV movie for the apartment complex, which I have not seen. Rambo, I know you saw it. Is it good?
It's weird, forgettable. It's kind of like him trying to do a Twilight Zone, David Lynch. Chad Lowe, bunch of weird people. He encounters Arlie Ermey's in it. Made for Showtime or HBO, one of those. Amanda Plummer, I think she gets naked in it. You don't need to see it. I mean, I've seen much worse. I've seen much better. It really forgettable to me. It was just trying to be sort of a weird comedy.
Okay.
And I can't say much. I can't remember much about it, honestly.
Okay. Let's see. We've got the Others TV series, one episode, and then we've got Crocodile from 2000. Let's talk briefly about Crocodile. I have a lot of fun watching Crocodile. Now, it's not a great movie by any stretch of the imagination. It was one of the many nature run amok kind of movies that came out around that same time that went direct to DVD.
It's like I know I've seen it, but like you said, there were so many. It wasn't good enough to make it stand out from all the others.
Right.
They'll just blend together.
Man,
Yeah.
I'm looking at some screenshots here, and this does not look like a very quality production.
It was. It's pretty low budget. It's got some of those weird Tobe Hooper quirks in it, and a couple of the characters. You know, it's a lot. It's got a lot of. It's got a lot of Tobe Hooper-ish stuff in it. I'll just put it that way. But I mean, it's nothing that's. It's not going to blow anybody away. It was like just a cheapy straight to DVD movie. I know Tobe Hooper was friends with Boaz Davidson. Boaz Davidson produced and wrote the movie. So I mean, it was a payday gig, I'm sure. So we have got one episode of a TV movie called Shadow Realm. I've never heard of it. I've never seen it. 2 episodes of Night Vision, 1 episode of Taken, which maybe Taken was the show that was produced by Spielberg. I don't remember. Then we've got the Toolbox Murders remake, which I really wanted to rewatch that for this show, but I just ran out of time, and I know I've got it on DVD somewhere. I could not find it. What's your guys' thoughts on the Toolbox Murders remake?
It's the one movie Sherry Moon Zombie's in that's not directed by Rob Zombie.
Yeah. Well, the original.
Yeah, she's the first to die.
Yeah. Was the original a classic? I mean, I saw
I
it. I
don't
didn't
think
think it really warranted a remake to begin with, but for what I know about this film, we talked about it. It was pretty much abandoned. The studio pulled the plug, and then they just cobbled together what he had made and what he had shot, and tried to release that as a movie to make their money back. But I saw it, but like I said, the original wasn't exactly a masterpiece to compare it to. So maybe I don't have real negative feelings about it, but I never had a desire to go back and revisit it. I thought it was neat.
I really liked it. I think that's the last decent Tobe Hooper film, because Angela Bettis, who was in May and other films, I thought she did a pretty decent job. The kills, I mean, Sherry Moon Zombie is the first to die with like a hammer to the back of her head, and then kind of a wrench. And even when it comes out, you see like a puff of hair. The person gets killed with a nail gun. They do a little interesting mystery where there's like a townhouse in the middle of this hotel that's being renovated. I thought that was interesting. I like the look of the killer, which was sort of a creature. Like it's a human, but it's a creature. Sort of like a nod back to the Funhouse, not design-wise, but sort of that type of thing. And even like within the townhouse, it's like all these newspapers, and that's almost like his nod to Chainsaw 2 with the underground, whereas like there's like an old version of Hollywood inside the townhouse, and like the hotel itself was dirty and gritty and disgust. Like you could tell it was a shitty hotel. 80-some minutes long. I think it's actually pretty decent. I thought it was better than the original, because the original, it was just almost like a character piece. Cameron Mitchell, I believe, and
Yeah.
a lot
It's
of
weird,
monologues with him. Like this one is much more of a slasher movie. I think like for a more modern slasher movie, I think it's got some good kills. Angela Bettis, I think, did a decent job. I like the little bit of mystery with the inside the townhouse that's in this motel, and I felt better.
Had he
Yeah,
been
go ahead.
allowed to finish it, I'm just, it may have been, a much better film. But I can definitely feel that that it was unfinished, but not terrible. I didn't mean to imply that I thought it was completely terrible. It's after the Mangler, this was like the only watchable thing that he did for me. And then the original Toolbox Murders was, I remember being a kid seeing it and want to rent it, and it's like you get it home and it's like, what the fuck is this? Because it's got the chick with the toolbox and the blood, and you're thinking it's going to be a cool slasher flick, and it's kind of not really a Maniac, but kind of a Maniac ripoff. I kind of felt like.
I like the poster art.
Yeah, the poster kicks ass, right? But then you watch the movie and it's like, what the fuck is this? But
It's like much more of a drama, the original, like a thriller.
I don't remember a thing about Toolbox Murders. I rented it when it first came out. I really wanted to give it another look, but I couldn't find it, and it just ran out of time. But
it's very generic from what I remember. I don't remember really liking it or hating it.
Right.
It just was what it was.
Right. The following year, in 2005, Tobe Hooper directed Mortuary. That's another one I saw at once. Not a big fan of it. Does anybody have anything nice they can say about Mortuary?
Is this another remake?
No.
No.
I don't think so.
Nothing new with Bill Paxton.
Because it sounds like
Mortuary.
a movie that was made in the late 70s, early 80s. During there was like a graveyard trend, and the house by the cemetery and this and that and the other thing. It sounded like a movie that was a remake.
It's a great death metal band. Maybe that's what you're thinking of.
But saw it. Didn't. It was okay. I mean, it's a mindless, horror film. If you got to watch a horror film, but there's better.
Mortuary fucking sucks. Denise Crosby's for those who like Pet Cemetery and early Star Trek Next Generation. These CGI funds out of the sink, and that's in the pit of the house, and possess people, and they puke up black CGI fungus. Fucking sucks.
Well, let's see. Let's talk about where are we at now. We are talking about. Tobe did 2 episodes of Masters of Horror: The Damned Thing and Dance of the Dead. I remember seeing The Damned Thing, and I thought it was pretty good. Right up to the very end, there's some really suspect CGI thrown in there, which I don't know why they'd even throw CGI in, a very low budget thing like, these Masters of Horror episodes. I don't recall seeing Dance of the Dead, though. You guys' thoughts on those 2?
Don't remember watching them.
Okay.
Didn't see The Damn Thing. Dance of the Dead, I know Robert Englund's in it, and he has like a club, and they get dead people and make them dance by injecting them in with something. I wasn't really impressed by it. Yeah, I barely remember much of it.
Okay.
The Damn Thing, I think, is one of the better Masters of Horror episodes. I think it may have been the season opener for either season 1 or season. It must have been season 2. Does that sound right? But anyway. I liked that one quite a bit, and I did not like Dance of the Dead very much at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, actually, the Damn Thing was season 2. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Then Tobe did a movie in 2009 called Destiny Express Redux, and it says that it is the synopsis is it describes the movie as the grand tale of a zombie holding an arm. He travels the world learning about life and the meaning of it all. He also meets a girl zombie holding a body. Will they fall in love? Will they complete that human body? Watch and find out. I have no idea what this is.
Wow.
I have no clue what this is.
It's drugs. It's acid. It's drugs.
That does not sound good.
I have no clue what this is. It's got no review.
Oh, wow.
Its official site was a Tumblr page that no longer exists.
Man, the art on that looks. Oh man.
Is it even available?
I don't know. I don't know.
Go look at the art on this thing. Seriously.
See, go to IMDb and look this thing up. My God. Written and directed by. It doesn't even say how long it is. Is it a full-length thing or a?
Is it a cartoon?
There's like no information about it. Your destiny is in his hand is the tagline. Okay. No idea what's going on there.
They say that if you do acid, it stays in your system. And it can come back on you at any time. And if you've done a lot, you could eventually go crazy.
I think it came back on him in 2009 in a big, big way.
Flashback of epic proportions.
Yeah. Well, then Tobe Hooper directed the film Jinn in 2013. And Jinn was let's see, where was this film? It was a United Arab Emirates production. It was another movie that apparently there was a lot of re-edits. The producers, it was a movie that was made and then shelved, and then it went through re-edits and stuff. If you've seen the final version of the movie, it's really bad, but I don't think you can attribute all of that badness just to Tobe Hooper. Put it that way.
Oh. What's worse, Jinn or Mortuary?
Jinn.
Wow.
They're both pretty bad.
They're both pretty bad. I think I would rather watch Mortuary again over Jinn.
So, and when I was going back researching Hooper's career, I really felt bad for the guy, because every story is like he ran into an asshole producer or the head of a studio that came in and basically kicked him off his movie and then fucked everything up, and then he took the blame for it. And it's just like this repeating story of it throughout his whole career, and it's maddening. It's just how he could remain so nice and not be, just a cynical asshole by that point. I mean, it was just, I felt bad for the guy. He seemed like a really nice guy who was able to accomplish some great things and make some good movies, but man, he
I
had a
think
hard knock career.
I think I think he came from that same kind of. He and Romero were cut from the same cloth. They were just too nice, and you know, I don't know, man. When you look at his career from 74 to 86, there's some great movies in there. You're talking about Chainsaw, you're talking about Eaten Alive, Salem's Lot, The Funhouse, Lifeforce, Chainsaw 2. I'll even throw in there Invaders from Mars. And then you get into a lot of television, and then you get into movies like Spontaneous Combustion, which I don't think that movie is entirely Hooper's fault. Again, producers, not God knows about Night Terrors. I've not seen Night Terrors. I've been warned enough not to watch it. The Mangler, I think, is fantastic, but he had that run from 74 to 86, which was a pretty darn good run. And when people think of Tobe Hooper, they think, oh yeah, he did Chainsaw and then everything else sucks. That's completely unfair.
And I think
say it. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, his run rivals Romero, in my opinion.
That's what I was
going
to
to
say.
If you look at the films that Romero made in that same period of time, yeah, he's considered to be one of the big four too, and rightfully so. But a lot of people put Hooper kind of down. I think if you look at his filmography in that period of time, it rivals Romero.
Well, their careers are very similar in that they're both known for like what was, almost one of the first things they did, in their movie career. So it's like, oh, you're the zombie guy or you're the chainsaw guy, and we're always trying to get away from that and never really could get the opportunity to.
But that's one of the great things I liked about Hooper is that he didn't care. He wanted to stay in that genre. He enjoyed making genre movies, and I enjoy a film knowing a person enjoyed making it and enjoyed the idea and the thought of it existing, rather than I'm going to do this for a paycheck so that I can do a movie about plants that fall in love or whatever. I mean, whatever mainstream goofy stuff that they want to do later on. I mean, I really respect the guy for enjoying what he did. He enjoyed doing these movies, and that makes them more enjoyable for me.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah. And I think if Hooper had only done Chainsaw and literally nothing else, he would still be deserving of that title of Master of Horror. He would still be deserving of genius status, I think, in my opinion.
Sure.
But the sad thing, like I said, is that people only think of Chainsaw and they discount the rest of his career because of, he had the output later in his career and in his life were nowhere near on par with that run from 74 to 86. But there were some great movies in that run that people overlook and people discount. Take Poltergeist out of it. Go watch Eaten Alive. Go watch Salem's Lot. Go watch Lifeforce. Go watch Chainsaw 2. Give Invaders from Mars a shot. Those are some pretty darn good movies. And go reassess The Mangler, for God's sake. You know what I mean? I just think whenever I feel like I'm somebody who defends Tobe Hooper a lot, I feel like I need to defend Tobe Hooper because people only think of Chainsaw and they go, the rest of his movie sucked. It's sort of it's a testament to just how good Chainsaw was, but you're overlooking and discounting a lot of really good movies because you saw Mortuary on the Sci-Fi Network one night and you go, oh yeah, this sucks, so the rest of this guy's movies suck. That's not the case. You know what I mean? Every master of horror has got duds. You know what I mean? They've all done duds. They've all had more than one. You know what I mean?
But I also looking at these guys, for me, it strengthens my resolve that Carpenter is number one. Because if you look at the films he made outside of the genre, he was still able. I mean, he had to deal with the same negativity that they did. Even though, you're the Halloween guy. You got to make Halloween 2 before we'll let you make Escape from New York. or he makes some other good movies that people shit on, and he got a lot of crap for The Thing, which was an amazing movie. But I think his filmography is the strongest. Which even though as much as I love the other guys, every time we look at their other filmography, it just shows how good Carpenter was. Jumping from genre to genre and still keeping the character strong and the feel, and you knew it was a Carpenter movie.
What's interesting though is I agree with you. Carpenter is number one. The Masters of Horror, Carpenter is the number one. His filmography speaks for itself. But at the same time, of all those guys, he seemed like the most bitter over it. You know what I mean?
He's the guy you think Hooper deserves to be.
Right.
Because that's why I was surprised that he was such a nice guy till the end, but he deserves to be like John Carpenter, like fuck everybody.
Yeah. Like.
But Carpenter's like that because of The Thing. That's what broke him. That's when he was just kind of like, whatever, fuck you guys. It's been fun, but whatever. And that just kind of snapped him. He's always been cantankerous, though, and maybe that's why he was more successful, because he wasn't as nice.
Probably, yeah.
Carpenter was much more likely to, tell somebody to kiss his ass than these other guys were.
Yeah. Well, and I think...
And, of course, Craven, he came at it from he was like a professor where he would talk around them. They wouldn't understand what he said until he was already making the movie.
Right, yeah.
Because he was so smart, he would just talk over their heads, and they'd be like, yeah, okay, well, what'd he say?
Exactly, yeah. Let's give that guy money.
It just hit me. All three of those guys, 3 out of the 4 you guys mentioned are gone.
Yeah, man, we got one left.
That is...
Yeah.
And it's the most cantankerous. It's the meanest. You see, there's your longevity right there.
So even when death comes to take him, he's going to be like, kiss my ass, I'm going to finish this joint first. You know what I mean?
So every time you run into an old guy that's just a grumpy piece of shit, understand that he's trying to live longer.
Yeah, I think,
very nice.
Yes, you said it all. You said it all. Any closing thoughts on the career of the late, great Tobe Hooper?
Underrated, I think, is a word that definitely, could be used with Tobe, because we've mentioned the other guys, and they get, you say Master of Horror, they're going to think of one of those guys before him. Yeah. And I think that's because the output 74 to 86 was more than enough to get him up in that, echelon, and it's kind of shitty the way he was treated. But,
absolutely.
Good stuff, though.
Yeah.
Chainsaw is a classic, and like you said, if that's all he had ever done, he would still be in the conversation.
Yeah. Final thoughts, Stingray?
It's just unfortunate. I feel like the climate in the industry changed so much to where, a lot of these guys were kind of pushed out. Pretty much all the guys we mentioned. If it wasn't for Scream, who knows what Craven would have done.
Yeah.
But it just seems like they were just pushed out and, not able to do really quality work anymore because they didn't have the opportunity. But it just sucks. He's done some, plenty of great movies, and rest in peace.
Closing thoughts, Rambo?
Well, sadly, just like Hollywood always does and always will, they look at the bottom line, which is the common dollar. And even though he made some pretty good movies, not many of them did well, especially his 3-picture deal with Canon. I think that's sadly what, even though 2 of them were really good, that kind of killed his career, because even Chainsaw 2, they said underperformed, and the other 2 were big flops. So that's probably why after Spontaneous Combustion, no, we don't trust you. You had control, blah, blah, blah. They didn't do well. We know better. And if you don't make money, you're going to go to TV. You're going to go to these lower budget movies. You're going to not have you don't have less and less control because we don't trust you. We know how to make money, supposedly. So it's always the business, not the artist. A lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times. But with Tobe, yeah, when I was going through his movies, you know what? There's a lot of good movies the guy did, considering for a number of years it was, oh, Tobe Hooper, he's not a master of horror. You will hear that from a lot of people, like just when you talk to regular folks or comments, And it's like, no, he deserves that mantle, not just for Chainsaw, but Chainsaw 2 was a different movie. He didn't do a carbon copy. Lifeforce, different kind of movie. Mangler, very different kind of movie. And in my opinion, successful in the fact they're entertaining movies. And yeah, he had a rough patch at the end there, but most of them did, sadly. Carpenter, The Ward, that sucks ass. You know, Wes Craven, My Soul to Take, fucking Cursed. So Toby's not the only one that has a rough patch at the end, but he did a lot of good stuff that he deserves to be up there more than shitheads like Eli Roth. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, you know, do you guys think that if Chainsaw 2 maybe was a monster hit? Because, you know, I don't even know if it underperforming is his fault, because you know, even considering the budget constraints, I don't know if Cannon even promoted that thing, you know, properly. So, I mean, if that had been a huge hit, you guys think that maybe his career would have gone a little differently?
I seem to remember I saw Chainsaw 2 in the theater, and only the people that knew of the first film, you know, only horror fans really even knew it was coming out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was, I would say it was just shit promotion. I don't think it was the content of the movie that caused it to fail. It was definitely the company that released it and produced it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do, because I mean, I do think he would have got more, because Chainsaw was a hit that helped him get films like Eaten Alive. Say if it slowed down Poltergeist, whether you want to say he did or didn't, his name was on it. That was a hit. I guarantee you that got him the 3-picture deal at Canon. I would guarantee it. So if Chainsaw 2 is a massive hit, I think some studio, even if it's a lower little bit, oh, here's a deal with us. Even if the 2 pictures flop, you'll give us a third one. Maybe they would have made him do Chainsaw 3. I don't know. Maybe they would have made him do some other thing.
You know, just imagine too. What if he'd signed a 3-picture deal with Alive Films instead of Canon? You know, or you know, if Chainsaw 2 had been a huge success, you know, maybe New Line Cinema would have said, "Hey, Toby, let's make Chainsaw 3," and Chainsaw 3 would have been totally different from what Chainsaw 3 was, or you know, they could say, you know, I mean, you know, who knows? I mean, if it had been a success, I think, you know, definitely a lot of that TV stuff that followed would not have happened. Spontaneous Combustion. Well, we may have got the Spontaneous Combustion that Toby wanted to make that may have actually got released. So I don't know. It's one of those. It's like with Carpenter. You know, what if the thing had been a success? You know, we'll never know.
You know, I'll be honest with you. When I first saw Texas Chainsaw 2, I was kind of put off by the fact that it was more comedic. Because, you know, I love the first film so much, and that tone was completely different. And, you know, it kind of put me off a little bit. It's, you know, been later on that I've, you know, been able to respect the film for what it is. But I'm guessing maybe a lot of other people probably felt the same way.
Yeah, but that year, though, that was the year for a comedic turn in they have the entertainment value and the comedy in the horror films. You had Chainsaw 2. What was some of the other ones I was thinking of? Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like Night of the Living Dead with comedy infused in it.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th Part 5.
Yep.
Was comedy infused with goofy characters. And then, of course, Evil Dead 2 came out later, and it was even goofier. Damn near a puppet show compared to the first one. You know, but it was still entertaining. So I think that was just the times. It was just, and for that reason, it should have been more popular than what it was. It should have been a huge hit because it had every ingredient that made movies popular at that time. You know, Freddy was had 1 and 2 out at that point. And you know, and Robert Englund with this, you know, that was starting to, you know, because as we saw later on with 3, 4, and 5, it got goofier, you know. So Chainsaw 2, maybe it hit a little too soon. Maybe if it had come out in '87 or '88, maybe it would have been a bigger hit. Maybe it would have had more money behind it. I don't know, but it had all the ingredients to be a hit of that time, and for some reason it wasn't, which is a shame.
Yeah. Well, we've gone a little longer than I'd anticipated with our Tobe Hooper tribute. So what I think we're going to do, is postpone the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 live commentary and do that one next week. Would that be okay with you guys?
That's fine, yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that is Thursday, the 2nd of November. We will do the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 live commentary. And but hopefully tonight, if you guys weren't that familiar with Tobe Hooper's filmography, we could, recommend some movies that you guys should go and check out, maybe some movies that you'd never heard of from Tobe Hooper. But I think at the very least, we showcased the fact that, there's a lot of movies in Tobe Hooper's filmography worthy of you checking out other than just Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So, but let me give a big shout out to everybody who's hung out with us tonight. My buddy Stone Gassman is here. Hope you're doing well, sir. The Cartoon Man 13. Thank you for tuning in tonight. I see Cole was in the chat tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Even though you totally dishonored Toby by not showing up. Voorhees Chasing Ghosts. My buddy Jules watching tonight. How are you? Let's see. Movie Man 95. Ben Nowak. Thank you for tuning in tonight. And yeah. So let's call it a night, and we'll see you guys next Thursday live at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as we watch and discuss Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. You guys have a great week. Have a great, safe Halloween. And don't eat any apples that have sharp objects in them. So, yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Have a good one. Have a happy Halloween. Peace.
Thanks, guys.